And welcome back to Pixels and Pints. My name's Tom. Enjoy editing that out, Peter. Actually, don't leave that in.
No, your aneurysm stays.
Oh, now I got a headache.
Yes.
It is Sunday evening, and we're coming to you semi-live from our various rooms and caves that we dwell in when we do this stuff. With me, as always, is Dan.
Hi.
And Pete.
Hello.
And I'm Tom, and I've got a brand new camera, and I can't figure out where to look yet because I still look at the people, and the camera's up there, and I'll probably need to fix that eventually. But hey, this is all the fun stuff you get to view if you watch our YouTube channel. That's an early plug for that one. Well done, Thomas. All right, roll the sleeves up. Let's go. Tonight, we are talking about the usual level of crap and fun that we normally talk about. We're doing a bunch of reviews. There's some nice little mini spotlights in there. We've got a big one spotlight, which I'm very keen to talk about, despite the fact that I have underprepared for it as always. And we're going to drink a bunch of predominantly Australian, New Zealand beers. I don't know if anyone's got anything international tonight. I do not.
I've got Australian, all Australian.
Ooh. But yeah, let's kick things off. Pete, you look like having a swig of something, so let's go right down your gullet.
Super happy about it.
Yeah, that's why I'm picking on you. All right.
I had a strong premonition I was going to respond this way to this beer, but I did it anyway because I thought it'd be interesting.
You're a glutton for punishment.
So this is Garage Project's Fizz Palace, which is a low alcohol phantasmal sour. Or
super low
phantasm
out.
sour.
It's only 0.5?
No, 1.1.
1.1.
Now, we've talked about low alc beers on this podcast before. We know Dan's strong opinion. My opinion's less strong, more just why the fuck would you? Like, please.
But Dan's opinion is very valid in that they still should not be selling them in supermarkets where children can get access to them. I 100% agree with this.
They don't sell them in supermarkets, do they?
Yes, they do. You go to Woolies, you can get the Naught by Modus Operandi on the shelf.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And wines and spirits, like.
Yeah, right. So it's just normalizing alcohol consumption in mine.
Basically, right? Yeah, which is dangerous.
So my opinion's less because that is an extremely valid point. I just don't see the point. If I see them in like a Dan Murphy's, they just confuse my my eye palette when I'm looking for beers. But I thought this would be an interesting one to try because as we've said before, Phantasm is supposed to be a hop flavorant that is significantly stronger than cryo or dry hopping.
It's a hop enhancement.
Yeah, but what
flavor enhancement?
That's what she calls it.
It should really strengthen the hop characters in a beer significantly more than a lot of the other processes we've talked about, like cryo and dry hopping and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
And I figured in a low alc beer, where the biggest problem with the low alc beer is it's got no fucking flavor. I wonder if Phantasm will start to tip the balance of trying to. Sorry, I shouldn't have used that word. I wonder whether or not it will balance it out and give me a hop.
Right.
A solid hop hit out of a beer.
I don't think so. So there's a lot more going on in low alc, or not going on in low alc, than we're gonna go deep here in the first 5 minutes.
Sorry,
and you want to get this over with.
Let me put my hard hat on with a little light on it so we can go deep for this one. Yeah.
I was going to get my wetsuit on. Sorry, carry on, Dan.
There's a lot more going on with the alcoholic products than there is in low alc. So you've got the combinations of the ethanol molecules working with hop molecules. So to enhance flavor, you can't just go and drop a whole bunch of hop in a low alc or a no alc product and expect it to do the same thing in a alcoholic fermented product. That it does. Like, you're not getting the activity, so you're not getting the contact time with the hop boils, you're not getting breakup of pellets. You're basically just making a watery hop soup. And it's without all that extra stuff there to balance against. You're never going to get that. I'll eat my words and Garage Project or Mountain Culture are the ones that'll be able to do it. But I stand by, you're never going to be able to get what tastes like a hoppy Pale Ale or West Coast or Nipa or whatever out
I'm
of
going to make you eat your words right now.
a low alc or a no alc.
So I actually disagree in the fact that whatever they're doing with the Heaps Normal Half-Day Hazy, it is a hazy mouthfeel tasting beer that is still 0.5. That is, and having tasted a lot of no alcs because of the shop and stuff, that is still for me the best one on the market.
That would be very interesting to know how they're doing that, because I would assume
I'm assuming it's witchcraft and devil worshipping or something along those lines.
With Heaps Normal being a solely no alc, low alc company, I would imagine they're doing things like reverse osmosis, which is like taking out the alcohol water molecules and rehydrating the basically the syrup that's left from the malt and everything. I wonder what trying to do a hazy product like that with high protein, high hop oil character does to their filter. Like, from a production mindset, that just sounds like a fucking nightmare. I'm sorry, I swore right in the opening again.
It doesn't matter. We've talked about this. We've got the 60-second buffer. Look, so just to talk about this beer specifically, it's. I'll quickly read out the little blurb because it is relevant. Crisp, aromatic, effervescent, refreshment, fizz palace, naturally soured and fermented to create a beer that's low in alcohol, but positively fizzing with crushed passion fruit, gooseberry, and feijoa, and fresh citrus acidity. Unique blend of New Zealand grown malts, white wheat, Nelson Sauvin, hops, Southern, and Phantasm Thiol powder delivers all the flavour and refreshment you could want without the heavy alcohol. It's a fun time at Fizz Palace. So, the can art's actually quite nice, even though the label's totally misaligned. It is what it is.
And that should be, like, that name and that label should be pinged by ABAC. 100% it should be pinged by ABAC.
Yeah, for advertising to children.
For advertising to children, but it won't because it's a low alc product.
Yeah. And the beer itself is not great. There's zero head. There is no head. The mouthfeel is more akin to an apple cider than a beer. In fact, that is a pretty decent description for the overall flavor profile as well. It tastes like an apple cider without the booziness to it. So like almost a fizzy apple juice.
Yeah, but I feel like it's a lot with unless it's a certain style of beer that they are making no alc. I really found a lot of guys who were making non-alc lagers. They were so thin and so gross. They were just gross.
This isn't gross.
Yeah, but the lagers they were just like it was almost the same as saying like I've put 3 drops of beer flavorant into this water and here you go. Whereas with a lot of especially like the hazy products I talk about and like the pale ales, I find they actually really nail the style. So maybe it's a style guide thing.
I very much think that you will get away with certain styles better than others, which is your core point. Now this is a sour, and to me, it tastes. It's going to sound funny. It is not very sour at all to start with. Like it doesn't have a very high acidity. To me, if anything, it tastes a little bit like a Pilsner.
Okay.
It's certainly got what tastes like Pilsner malt through it. Now, obviously, that's not Pilsner malt, Pilsner yeast. What gives Pilsner? I was right the first time. Yeah. It does kind of taste like that. It's not on point, but it kind of is in that kind of realm. But the point I wanted to make back to you, Tom, is we're comparing low alc flavor profiles to full strength craft beer where where flavor is king. But if I was to compare this to something like a Heineken, every time I go back and drink a mass-produced beer these days, it tastes like the beer's watered down to fuck. The flavor is inoffensive. It's there, but it's inoffensive, and it's in the background. You're not drinking it for the flavor. And I'm not picking on Heineken, any mass-produced beer. If I was to compare this against that, it's a lot closer than if I was comparing it against the usual craft fare that we talk about on the show.
Which is fair, but then I would throw back to you on that point that I've done a side-by-side tasting of Carlton Draft and Carlton Zero when that first came out, and the difference was stark. I found it quite different in the way that they both produce those flavors. I think Carlton Draft tastes like you're having a mouthful of watery chalk, and that's being nice. And then I found that the Carlton Zero was the watered down mouthful.
Yeah, it's just self-abuse at that point, isn't it?
Which, sign me up. That's all I'm here for. But yeah, it's the same. Like, but I get what you're saying. Like, it is, especially combining both your points of a craft, especially like Garage Project, which are known for experimenting with their flavors and the way they use different hop products and all that kind of stuff. For them to go into that line of the non-alc, and yeah, you'd always imagine it wouldn't. It would be such a like almost a mind fuck kind of stark difference in like you expect those flavor profiles to come through their beers no matter what the style, and for them to not hit that mark in the non-alc. That's I mean,
look, it's not offensive.
It's another challenge to get over, but hey, and good on them. But still, very much on the board of I think most breweries should have a super low alc or 0.5 zero alc beer in their market and in their range by now.
Well, you can go fuck yourself.
Is it
gladly
socially?
Right,
is it? Yeah. I mean, pregnant women can't have any beer or any alcohol. Rather, how low is any? Are we moving towards?
I'm not a
realm?
doctor, but I know plenty of my local patrons who, over the years, despite being how heavily pregnant they were, they would probably have a glass of something a week. They wouldn't drink to excess, but they would happily have a glass of something.
Does this give them a viable alternative?
Yeah. And it goes off in dry July and Feb fast or whatever fucking month stupidity thing they're doing.
It's just an interesting thought exercise because it's supposed to be zero alcohol, but at the same time, half your medications and your fucking cherry ripes and all the rest of it contain trace levels. So what's trace anyway?
Lemon lime bitters. Bitters is alcohol. Everyone forgets that.
What's probably got the highest ABV in the bar most of the time.
If you chug a bowl of bitters, you'll hate yourself, but that's probably what you're doing.
Your stomach will probably turn inside out.
Your stomach will turn inside out, but you'll be drunk. You will be drunk.
Yeah. I'm going to give it a 3 out of 5. It gets half a point for effort. Moving on, Dan.
Well, that was a good 10-15 minutes on a non-alcoholic product. It should have
never
not made it to the alcoholic podcast in the first place.
Ooh.
Is it the alcoholic podcast or is it the alcoholics podcast?
Yeah, or whatever. Take
column
your
A,
pick.
column B.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. Well, it's that time of year again that I'm going to hate myself because I'm going to buy these beers and still have never had a good one.
Isn't it? It's Black Forest. Black Forest.
No, it's a fresh hop.
It's fresh hop season. Yeah.
It's Hop Nation, Field Days, Fresh Hop IPA. It still doesn't change my
art.
Yeah, it's a it's a maze. Yeah, it's nice. Yeah, 6%.
Maze is
whatever.
Cool, bro. What are you talking about? I love a maze.
Oh, when we're in the UK, I would hunt down hedge mazes.
Yeah,
I love them. I love a good old English hedge maze.
I don't mind a hedge wizard. Anyway,
oh dear. Oh.
This
Peter.
I'm just going to ignore him and keep going. This does not change my mind on fresh hop products.
But you still buy them.
It's dull and lackluster, and it's fine. Like there's no faults to the product itself. Like it's a clean, well-made beer. It's just completely lackluster. There's no fun, good, strong hop character to it. There's not enough bitterness to it for an IPA.
It's one of those funny things because there's so many good hop products out there now that you can make really excellent like hoppy beers, but they, like you've said plenty of times before, they still go back to these fresh hops because it's like people just assume fresh is best, and it's like it doesn't always work out. Yeah.
The bitterness that's there is harsh. It's a watery body with a lackluster hop character to it, and I'm going to hate myself even more because I bought their fresh haze, which is the hazy version of the wet hop for my next product. So, 2 and 3/4.
Ooh.
It gets the extra quarter for not having any fault to the actual product other than it just not being particularly nice. Pete's got his mic on fucking mute.
Okay, calm down. It's all right. It's better
You're
when
not
I don't talk. We both know it.
Say your things, Peter.
You're not in a business meeting, Pete. You don't need to put yourself on mute.
No, I was just going to say you gave it a quarter point because you only deal in quarter points. We all know it. Can you fill in the detail of your beer on the thing, please?
Sure.
Tom?
I am drinking a normal beer because I am a normal human being. That is a lie. And
When did that happen?
I apologize to everyone for saying that. I'm drinking from One Drop. It's their Yuzu lager. I'm going to attempt to pronounce the name. It is Onskiis. 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 We're Onskiis here.
What style is it?
It's a Yuzu lager, 4.7%. It's a very cool label. I don't know if it'll show it with money. I haven't figured out. I got a new setup, guys, and it's very exciting. But I haven't quite figured it out because this light is annoying me. Fuck off, you dick. There we go. That's a bit normal. But it's like a skeleton chugging.
Oh, yeah.
Straight through the bottom jaw. Yeah.
Yeah. But then it's got his a skeleton hand up the top.
That's cool.
It's line art on the silver can, so it's hard to show on camera.
That looks like Blair's work.
Dry Japanese lager, freshly juiced yuzu. They use New Zealand hops. It's delicious. It's great. It's it pours a very, very nice and clear in my cup, my glass. Getting a bunch of that yuzu coming through, which is one of my favorite like citrus fruits. I really like yuzu. For those who have never tasted yuzu, it's kind of like a watered down's a bad word. It's a pulled back mandarin. Let's say that. That's the best way to describe it. So think if you had like a nice mandarin that wasn't as the most juiciest mandarin you've ever had, but that is a yuzu. It's like still got those citrus flavors where it's not like an orange, which is acidity to your face.
And aren't they tiny?
So small. Just I sympathize with them or empathize with them.
Empathize.
Yeah. But this works really well in a lager. I'm very much enjoying this after sitting on a bunch of beers all day that were a bit heavier or a bit shitter. This is quite nice and refreshing. That yuzu citrus coming through, where it's light, but it's carrying the whole beer through it. So I'm going to give that a 4.
Yeah, nice.
And Pete's OCD's kicked in on the run sheet. He had to retype the information he asked me to type in.
Yeah, because I've got to be able to find it on Untapped later. So if I have any qualifying questions, it's better to ask you now before you crush the can and forget what you drank. Anyway, moving on.
1, I don't crush the cans. 2, I forget what I drink about 30 seconds after I fucking pour it. So.
Okay, so my point's still valid, right?
Yeah. Oh, no, your point's very valid.
Okay, so we're going to move on to some news.
We interrupt this broadcast with some breaking news from the front.
Yay.
20 minutes in.
Yeah. Thank you, timekeeper. Tom, do you want to kick us off?
Hey, we're on a time limit tonight, all right?
I know.
So,
I think you're the only one excited for Star Wars Celebrations this year. So did you want to take us through?
Yeah, fuck the lot of you dumb idiots.
I'm just, as I said to you guys,
we'll come up to it later, but yes, okay. You've made your point.
I don't think we will come up to it later.
I think we will. I definitely think you'll make that point as soon as we start talking about Mando later on.
Yes.
I think we skip that. I think we leave it till next time and make it the spotlight.
Copy. Anyway, news time. So Star Wars Celebration was in a place that I do not remember actually committing to memory. I know the next one's in Tokyo, which is super exciting. But can't remember where the last one that just happened was. If someone could find that out, and Peter, go, Peter, bye.
Okay.
So 3 new movies are coming out. Obviously, there's been a bit of a mismatch in what they're actually going to do with the movies. Fuck you and the dude you wrote in on. So we got Charmin Obed Chinoy is
London.
It was in London. There you go. All right, Governor. So Charmin Obed Chinoy is going to be directing a new film, which is starring Daisy Ridley as Rey again, which is good, because if they gave her a different character, that would be very confusing.
Be very weird.
Yeah, very weird. But it's set 15 years after Rise of Skywalker, and it's concerning Rey rebuilding the Jedi Order.
Which is fucking horseshit.
It's a weird... I think this is the weirdest of the 3 films that they've announced.
It is. Yeah, by far.
It doesn't seem to follow where anyone was going with that.
She wasn't formally trained. She's not even technically a fucking Jedi, and she's going to rebuild the Jedi Order? Like, really?
She's got some books, man. She's got some books. She's going to do some reading.
But the tree burnt down. But look, at the same time...
Hey, even Yoda admitted they weren't page turners, so she's basing a whole fucking... The whole
look, if she's rebuilding a grey Jedi Order, I am fucking here for it.
Yeah, that would be at least mildly more interesting.
Well, also that'd be adapting the storylines of Jedi Academy and Jedi Knight.
It is probably also, like, just in terms of if it were real, it's what they needed to do. I mean, the reason why the Jedi Order fell in the first place is they were too rigidly stuck to their old ways, and that was the whole point that Qui-Gon was making. It was the whole point that Obi-Wan was kind of making, was that, you know, we take these kids and we fucking train them and we stick them in this rigid order, and everyone's surprised when they can't marry, they can't have any kind of emotional attachment to anything other than the order, and then you're surprised when they run off and do crazy ass shit. It's almost a commentary on celibacy in the church. Just saying, like, there's a lot of parallels there. So
yeah.
So I'm gonna jump in here quickly before you go, Tom. I agree with you if they do the Grey Jedi side of it. Pete, you haven't read the Republic Commando stuff, but there is in book 3 or so they start talking about an offshoot of the Jedi Order that are the Grey Jedis. They're allowed to have relationships, get married. Do whatever, and they get brought in as
we've talked about the Grey Jedis, so I am across.
But this group gets brought in as reinforcements for the Jedi generals during the Clone Wars. So if they're going to steal anything from canon, that's what they should be stealing and rolling with that rather than.
Which is basically what's his name, Quinlan Vos.
Yes.
He's the most accessible Grey Jedi past Qui-Gon.
And we know he escaped Order 66 because of Obi-Wan. So,
Quinlan Vos.
So apparently, John Boyega has buried the hatchet with Kathleen Kennedy, and there's also rumors that he may rejoin.
Hopefully, deep in her skull, because that would make all of our lives happier.
I've got to say,
rip and tear.
Like I was reading through the celebrations wrap up as I was kind of typing out the notes, and all I could think of was horseshit, and it's like, but it's Kathleen Kennedy saying all this shit. There's a 90% chance at least 2 out of the 3 movies are going to get axed in the next 6 months anyway. So who fucking cares? I'm going to get worked up about this shit.
Yeah, she's definitely started out as the one who is super excited about the Star Wars universe, and then it's just in the last
and then super failed to deliver.
Well, also just in the year, like last year and a half, it's just become super CEO-y.
Yeah.
So she's basically the Emperor. So throw her down a vault.
Next movie.
Dave Filoni is going to finally direct a Star Wars movie, which I'm just excited for him as a Star Wars nerd. Like, fuck yeah, it's his dream come true. Like, you got to hand it to him. He's put the work in.
He has put the work in, other than Mando season 3.
Oh, right, there it is. But it's going to close out basically the Mandalorian saga that he's been building through Clone Wars and now through Mando and through all the other shows and stuff.
He has specifically addressed the question of whether or not it will mean the end of Mandalorian by saying that there is no end in sight for him. Like, he's pre-written season 4, we already knew that, but he has not.
He needs to take over as creative director, CEO, everything. He just give him the reins. Yeah.
Well, he already is. I mean, you've got Favreau.
He's still behind Kennedy.
Yes. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look, I'm just saying, if if footage emerges of Kathleen Kennedy and Dave Filoni fighting on some rafters above a giant like chasm with some lightsabers, a la the end of Clone Wars, Maul versus Ahsoka, I will watch that fight. I will tune into that. I don't tune into live things, but I will tune into that live stream.
We'll even organize like a Wilhelm scream as she falls down. Perfect.
No, I think there will be like a choir there ready to do a Wilhelm scream when one of them falls.
Next movie.
It's 100% Jewel of the Fates.
Yeah.
100%.
It's the fate of the Star Wars universe. Jewel of the Fates was the fate of Anakin Skywalker.
Yep.
This is the fate of the Star Wars cinematic universe going forward.
Yep. And I want to see John Boyega in the shadows with a hatchet.
Some fucking face
What,
paint.
like just the prey hatchet on the rope as well?
Yeah,
like
no, I was just thinking that. That's why I was saying face paint. See him emerge from the shadows, the fucking red face paint. Anyway.
And lastly, we've got James Mangold, who directed Logan, is doing a movie set 25,000 years earlier, covering the dawn of the Jedi. Which is interesting. Have you ever read any of the comics around or stories around the Dawn of the Jedi? And like how they developed lightsabers? So the lightsabers used to be on like really short ropes with power packs. Yeah, it's kind of cool. That'd be fun in a Logan style film, I think.
The proto sabers with
the proto sabers. Yeah. James Mangold. James Mangold is he's a brilliant director. So yeah, I can see him being a creative powerhouse where he will do that justice. So
I almost,
if it goes ahead in the big Peter quotation marks, if it happens.
I like the idea though. If they do it well, like it's got a lot of potential to talk about. When did mankind?
I'm just now thinking as well, like the apes from Space Odyssey, but with lightsabers.
But it just
around the obelisk.
Yeah.
In terms of covering, like
but
when did mankind discover the Force? How do we figure out how to use it? That sort of stuff. I think would be an interesting story. I mean, it's got potential to be interesting. They could probably fuck it up, but
it would be incredibly interesting if they did it as a more thought-provoking rather than just a Disney action.
The magical midichlorian fairy.
A watered down. This is a movie for everybody. Make it not a movie for everybody. Like run a bit of a gauntlet and run a bit of a risk and make it more thought-provoking and well scripted and well written and small.
Yeah.
Don't make it the fate of the universe with the first fucking Jedi. Just make this person, whoever it's going to be, just find their way.
I'm about to eat my words, and I'm going to admit that straight out. Fuck, this is where I think that fucking Frenchie fuck could come in and maybe do some good. You win, Dan. You win. But his style of telling a story in that dawning of it, and granted that when he does Dune, he's doing like the fall of an empire rather than like the building of a. But it's the way he does hold the reverence to that religious aspect of it. And that's where I can see him succeeding. And I'm going to go throw up now because I've said that.
But the character would have to build that religion from scratch because he'd be that person would be the first Force welder. They'd have to experiment to figure out the limits of their powers. They wouldn't even understand the nature of the power.
No, better. Sam Raimi has to do it, and it's the Spider-Man 1 and the guy learning the Force power. Shazam! Go Web, go! But no, the next one, I will put that in there. I would, and I know I said that Denis Villeneuve can go and fuck off from the Star Wars universe, but I'm going older Republic, Dan. I'm going way before the old Republic. Yeah. So I actually think his style of storytelling, as much as he's a fucking wanker, he would do it in justice. There, I said it. I'm going to go wash my mouth.
It's out. It's done.
Yeah.
The
it's
next
written on a postcard.
The next two announcements at Celebrations were releasing some footage to the audiences that paid for tickets but have not been leaked online. There's been some screenshots leaked online. People took photos, but I haven't seen any video.
No, I haven't seen a dodgy cam shot photo of it yet.
So the first one was Star Wars The Acolyte, which is set in the High Republic era 100 years before Phantom Penis. I like that era.
The Phantom Menace? Yeah, it's a great film. I think we should talk more about it. How good it is.
I like that era for storytelling. I think it'd be really interesting to tell
I need to delve more into it. I haven't read any of the High Republic stuff yet.
Well, from what I've read, and I haven't read any either, Tom, but I just think it'd be...
From what I've read, I haven't read any.
No, but I haven't read any of the content, but I have researched this news topic, fucker.
That's a funny statement.
Having Jedi outnumber the Empire and have the Empire be the underdog would be an interesting spin of a setting for a TV series. Considering where we are at the moment, we're watching, Andor, where it's
the Empire's king.
Empire is king, and they're the Republic's scraping an existence along. You've got Mando, which is set after these events, and we're chasing down remnants. To setting a TV series to 100 years before any of the shit has unfolded, and the Jedi Council is ruling the fucking galaxy. It's going to be interesting to see which direction they take that in.
No, I agree in the sense that I think it's about time we had a series, whatever movie that is really following the dark side users. Like it's too heavy in the light side. Kind of like for lack of the word, there is no balance in this force. Like you need to show one of the series I would love to see, and they'll never do it, but they fucking should. Imagine watching a series about the rise of Maul. I would be fucking glued to the screen every week in, week out. Like, especially if you got someone like
he's
Ray
training.
Park again. Yeah, even if
his early life.
Yeah, like being ripped off Dathomir and then taken into the service of Palpatine.
But that whole Clone Wars arc was amazing. It was for me, that's when Clone Wars started to get interesting.
When Savage came in, yeah. But that's the thing. They won't do it as a regular series. Like they have all those freedoms in those animated. You can take so many more risks in the animated universe and stuff. But yeah, they won't do it. But I think it's such a good thing that we're finally getting a devoted series to Dark Force users, because there's massive. Well, yeah, but this is designed, and this is definitely coming out. Like I don't think there's any denying this is coming.
We don't know what it's about, though. We just know that it's set in the High Republic. We don't know if it's about,
it's about the Sith. They've confirmed it's about Sith.
Hiding in the shadows and gathering power and pulling strings, because we kind of already got that. That was what the whole prequel trilogy was. That, so it can't be about that. It's.
My guess is it's going to be because the people that they interviewed on the panels, some of them they spoke to specifically about their. I think they've probably announced who they were about them being Jedi. So I'm assuming we're getting a group of young Jedis. One slowly then moves away into the grey territory, into the dark side territory. I'm assuming that's what it is.
His girlfriend gets sick or something, and he saves them from death. Some shit.
Someone gets fridged and as motivation for moving somebody along. But I think I agree with you both here that as long as they focus on that dark side person and make it about them, and
it's not a Twilight-esque teen fiction series.
And
that's the other place it could go.
Meant to be. It's a cross between Frozen meets Kill Bill. Whatever the fuck that.
Are you? What? Who wrote that?
The fucking director wrote it.
Oh, no.
Interestingly, the overall idea of the Acolyte was pitched as, and this is in quotation marks, Frozen meets Kill Bill. This seems to refer to the series.
Didn't kick me out of the building.
This seems to refer to the series telling an emotional tale of a powerful, misunderstood woman villain while also telling an intense, action-oriented story.
Right.
And they picked Frozen out of all of the movies and TV shows or whatever they could have fucking picked. They picked Frozen to compare it with Kill Bill.
I'm getting political vibes.
Maybe she's getting
like
force freeze powers. I don't know. That's show yourself out for that one.
I just as long as it's not just pandering.
The Acolyte is a mystery thriller that will take viewers into a galaxy of shadowy secrets and emerging dark side powers in the final days of the High Republic era. A former Padawan reunites with her Jedi Master to investigate a series of crimes, but the forces they confront are more sinister than they've ever anticipated. Okay, I may.
So I wonder who the Sith Master will be.
Have
'Cause
you
you've
ever
got
heard the
the
tragedy
rule
of
of two.
Darth Plagueis the Wise? Not a story the Jedi would tell you.
All right, moving on. The last one was Skeleton Crew. So again, footage was shown, but it hasn't made its way online. This is just this
is
just
a weird
smells
one.
like
This is a weird
shit
one.
to me, right? So
It's
follows
a live action kids series.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it tells the story through the eyes of a bunch of children that come from a tiny planet, lost in the galaxy. Empires,
That's I hope it's not the
destroyed their
children that
home
Anakin
world.
meets at the temple in Order 66. 'Cause that would be a very short story.
Yeah, and it's set around the same time as Mando, and they have flat out said that whilst it might feature kids and it might be a story told through the eyes of kids, it's not a show for kids. Fuck right off.
I'm actually really
bullshit.
hoping it's because Jude Law's in it. Jude Law's like
Yeah.
the main guy. I would
daddy
really
figure.
hope it's like a Oliver, but Star Wars. So it's Jude Law
Please,
getting
sir.
a bunch of
Can I have some more?
ragtag, and they just become thieves throughout the galaxy. I think that would be hilarious, and I'd watch it.
Well, I was thinking along similar lines, but I was thinking Goonies with Jude Law playing the Josh Brolin older brother, and all of the Jude Law's way older than that now. He's definitely the father figure side of it. But I was thinking Goonies. I want the fucking Data to pull open his vest with the punching glove on the springy arm, man. His little shock belt. That's what I want. You know there's going to be a nerdy gadget one. There's definitely going to be a nerdy gadget.
Yeah, there's going to be a tech, and then there's
You
gonna
wouldn't
be an
get
echo.
away with a character like Chunk anymore.
No, I was going to say that they won't have the guts to do a chunk.
They couldn't do it. They'd get cancelled in the first episode.
Yeah.
Anything else before we wrap up Star Wars Celebrations?
It was. I know there's been rumors about Obi-Wan season 2, and Ewan McGregor wants to do it. How they do it, again, if anyone from Disney is listening, I have a wonderful idea. It's called Arshad Het and versus Obi-Wan. Just make it happen. It's in. Is it still in canon? Is it
No,
in
it's
canon?
not canon. Oh,
No.
I don't know, actually.
Ooh.
I don't think. Legends, I'm pretty sure.
Doesn't matter. Arshad Het versus Obi-Wan Kenobi. Make it happen. He's got the uniform now, which you pulled straight from the comics.
Oh no, Asharad you're talking about.
Yeah. Yes, the Tusken Raider Dark Jedi dual wielding red lightsabers.
Okay. Moving on. So, continuing the PlayStation accessibility trend that we talked about last week, where they've added accessibility tags to the PlayStation Store. Horizon Forbidden West has just
Which is out
added
now, right?
Yeah,
It's out.
The DLC is out, yes. But this is a patch to the core game.
Okay.
So they've added some changes that you can, some accessibility changes for those who suffer from a thalassophobia.
Say it.
Thalassophobia, fear of deep water. So basically, when you toggle on this accessibility setting, the ambient light goes back up to normal, because obviously when you're under the water,
When you dive in,
in the game, it gets really dark and murky. So it gets rid of that, and also disables the oxygen limits, so you can swim indefinitely before you get the rebreather. So
right.
I thought that was just an interesting little tidbit that they're adding that in for people who suffer from a fear of deep water, because those people were skipping entire...
It's a core part of the gameplay.
It is, but people were skipping entire major quest lines because
they
of
force you into
fear.
it,
Yeah. So I thought
it'd be really nice if they also added the as part of that, they added just the music from Mario 64 when you dive into the water, because that's some of the most peaceful music on the planet.
What about people that have a fear of heights and falling off shit at high levels?
Just
no,
don't play the game. Don't play the game. There is a line. There is a line between accessibility and if you're blind and have no arms, don't drive a car. Like, there's a line somewhere in between those two extremes.
That's when you get the dog to drive the car. I've seen those videos. I know they exist.
In an announcement that I just sighed.
It's annoying, but it makes sense.
I knew it was coming.
Yeah.
So Warner Brothers Games and Portkey Games, after feeding us absolute bullshit about why Quidditch was removed from Hogwarts Legacy, have just announced Harry Potter Quidditch Champions, a Quidditch game. Like, fuck.
With the shitty art style too. I'm not.
Yeah, I was
going to
say it's much different to what
they should have just used the
what I've
in-game
seen.
engine and
Legacy.
Yep, it's a disappointment. It's a disappointment. But then again, so am I. So you know what?
Fuck
Swings and
capitalism.
roundabouts.
Suicide Squad killed the Justice League, delayed until February 24, and 3 people cared.
I've
Ooh,
got a
that's
hazy
very pale.
IPA.
No, you don't.
Yeah, no, it is. You can see me through
No, that's a hazy IPL. What are you talking about?
it.
And you want to talk about your games, Tom?
Yeah, some new PS Plus extra games. Dan, you'd be excited for this. Wolfenstein 2, Doom Eternal. They've also put the entire original Doom series in the classics section.
I saw that.
Yeah, now you look up, don't you, Peter? Yeah, that's right. It's useful news. They put some other games on that I don't care about.
They're also taking some important games off.
They are. Marvel's Spider-Man is being taken off the PS Plus extra thing. There's a massive list of games being taken down. I didn't want to put that in because it was too long.
So you've got until the end of the month to nab a copy.
No, you got to the end of the month to nab a copy and finish it before it gets taken off you.
Yeah,
because that's the whole thing with the PS Extra is if you don't finish the game, like
it's gone.
It's gone.
Yeah.
They've also removed which I think is actually important to say there. As part of that, they're removing the PS Plus collection that was on there, which were those. Which I think they're the games you actually can still claim and keep in your
library.
In your library, but there were some significant first-party games in there that if you didn't have them, grab them now.
You could realistically finish the main storyline in 7 days from
I did when I broke my leg.
Spider-Man.
That's when Spider-Man came out. I
finished
finished I platinumed the game in 7 days.
If you
Mind you, I had nothing else to do because I was literally couch bound. Yeah.
I mean, if you have a life and a job and you want to play the main storyline, you can do that in 7 days. I doubt you could platinum it just because you're going to be swinging around town trying to do all those stupid fucking repetitive bullshit quests that I hated. But you could certainly finish the main game in 7 days. Shall we move on to the second beer? We're just flying along tonight.
I'm web zipping. What are you talking about?
Dan, what are you drinking, mate?
I'm drinking my second disappointment for the night, which is Hop Nation's Field Haze Fresh Hop Hazy IPA. I couldn't keep it to myself when I poured it out. It is mildly
That's not
hazy.
No.
It has a hue to it. It has a fog to it. A hue's a colour.
Which is funny because if you look at their Melbourne fog, which is their hazy pale, it's thick. That's when I think of fog. That's what I think of. Yeah.
This is just once again just completely lackluster in hop character. It's got a bit of kind of herbal, vegetal, grassy character to it, but it's absolutely lackluster in hop character. It's not as thin as the other IPA, but it's still thinner than it probably should be for this style. The head, it's got good head retention, but it's pretty rocky. Like it's pretty. I wish I could tip my glass into the camera and so you could see how rocky it is because it's actually really big bubbles.
When you say rocky,
like large, you can see the large bubbles in it rather than a nice small
foam
protein foam.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that usually shows one like over carbonation or not enough sort of protein. But I mean, we can already see that. Yeah, I mean, once again, there's nothing wrong with it. It has no faults to the beer itself. But it's just lackluster.
It's disappointing. Especially from a brewery like Hop Nation. Like, your name's Hop Nation. Come on. You got basically one job.
I mean, it's fine. It's probably better than... Is it? Yeah, it's probably better than the other IPA. But just super lackluster. So another 2.75.
Cool.
I have a fresh harvest beer in the fridge. Maybe I'll crack it for one of my third or fourth. It's a black IPA though, because I make good choices.
I had a black IPA fresh hop last time. It was the Bridge Road one. I did remember a beer. Hey,
shit! That was the beer that I have in the fridge. I'm not going to crack that.
Well, but is it this year's version of it? Because I had last year's version.
No, I've got
the
this
fresh
year's
hop one.
version. Yeah.
Okay, well, you can crack that and see if that's any better than last year's.
What are you drinking, Tom?
I am drinking a hazy pale ale, or double dry hopped pale ale, I should say, technically. Where is the camera? There you go.
Hey, hazier than mine.
Fuck, you move your hand, you dumb idiot. Fucking hell. What is this, amateur hour? Oh, Christ. Fire this guy.
I think people are used to it by now with us in amateur hour.
So this is the Hypnotic by Range, double dry hopped pale ale. Peter, it is 5.4% ABV. A double dry hopped pale ale loaded with Citra and Galaxy. What a surprise! No one's ever done that before. Crazy. Christ almighty, it tastes like every other version of it. Which is not to say it's bad. It's just it's tried and true, and it obviously shows.
Doesn't take any risks.
No, this is the how would we say it? This is the Prairie on Navarro ending of a beer.
Oh, but hang on, it uses Citra and Galaxy hops, but they've mixed things up with this batch and used Cooper's Pale Malt for our base.
What, from the homebrew kits you get in Woolies?
Hey, no. Cooper's did Cooper set up a maltery? I'm not sure that's a real word.
It is now.
Malting house?
A malting house, a malt house.
I think
a couple of years ago. Yeah, we use primarily Cooper's malt in our brew.
Get on that Voyager, mate. It's good for you.
Cooper's base malt.
Cooper's Pale Malt for our base with a little help from some rolled wheat and flaked oats.
It's a tasty fucking beer, but it's just safe. It's home free.
Yawn?
That's about it.
Yawn?
It's I wouldn't say it's not yawn because it's fresh and it's tasting good and it's all that kind of things, but it's like it's yawn in the sense that it's not exciting and it's like it's not breaking any boundaries, but like if you're thinking from a brew perspective, that's just the moneymaker. That's just hand over fist cash. You're like, here you go, sweet. I would 100%, if that was on tap, I would just go and grab it because it's that kind of like good tasting beer, something that's like not getting you too pissed, but like give me a nice little like hit of booze. The flavor profile is throughout. It's Citra, it's Citra and Galaxy throughout the start from sip to the last gulp, and it's let's say a 3.75. They lose 0.25 for not being the most adventurous. But yeah, solid beer.
Sorry, what was the score?
From memory, it was relatively well priced as well for a 440ml can. Like,
yeah, cool.
You get some of those cans, it's like, hey, we've got this new dry hopped pale ale. It's $17. And you're like, go fuck yourself.
And it's still only 5.5%.
Yeah.
Sorry, what was the score, mate? You didn't say
3.75.
I did hear that. Okay.
Yeah.
Thought I misheard you.
No. What are you drinking, Peter?
I'm drinking
Beerfarm.
Yeah. Drinking Beerfarm's IPA. Just tried and true. I actually haven't tried it before, so it's clearly core range. It's where's the ABV hidden? 1.7, 5.6%, and it's great. I mean, it's an IPA. It doesn't pretend to be anything that it's not. It isn't anything that it's not supposed to be. So, it's. I mean, the head retention wasn't great, but I suspect it might be the crappy low out residue that I had in here. It's actually quite hazy, really. It's clearly
move your hand, you fucking idiot.
Where would you like me to put my hand?
No.
I've just got him. Yes.
You just did exactly what Tom did 30 seconds ago.
It's nice and bitter.
Imitation is the highest form of flattery, as they say.
It's nice and bitter. It's pithy. It's everything you want in an IPA, frankly.
Nice.
Yeah. I mean, it's nothing to write home about, but that's not what you want out of every single beer.
No.
So,
and that's definitely the same with this one. It's just weird choice of name being Hypnotic. I wouldn't say it's hypnotic in the way it tastes, but it's like it's just kind of like that'd be a great house hazy pale.
Yeah,
like just a shame.
And this is a lawnmower beer.
A house. Yeah.
This is the beer that you drink while mowing the lawn on a summer's afternoon. So it's not too potent. But it's not backward in coming forward either. You get a solid bitterness. You'd enjoy this. 50 IBU apparently.
Nice.
Yeah, so it's up
Not bitter enough.
there. That's good. I'm going to give it a
4 half portions.
I am going to give it a 4 out of 5.
Nice.
And it's a malt kiln, by the way, is the place that you roast malts
Oh,
in
really?
a kiln. So it'd be the kilning process.
Yeah, but it's not. Like,
You wouldn't
kilning,
call it a
kilning
kiln.
is...
Would you call it a kilnery?
No.
Kilnery? Kilnery?
No,
No.
malting and kilning is two
It's
different
a malting
things.
house. It's a malting house.
It's a malt house. Kilning is the roasting of the malts.
Mm.
Once it's malted.
Mm.
So malt is steeping grain in warm water and then drying it out once it starts germination. Once it's broken down the cell walls of the starch inside, and kilning or roasting is the following step. I guess it is because it's done in an oven.
I think you're
but
right.
It's not.
I think you're right. I'm just looking at it now. It's
But there's separate processes in the
a
whiskey
malting
making
floor.
process. Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
a malting floor in a malt house or a malt barn or maltings.
A malt barn.
Yeah, or it's just called maltings, is a building where cereal grain is converted into malt by soaking it in
I
water.
would definitely be calling that the Cooper's Malt Barn.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
I want to go to there. Like, that's a place I want to visit. I want to go visit the Cooper's Malt Barn.
Interesting smell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Hell yeah.
Should we move on to some
Think
mini
Scrooge
reviews?
McDuck diving into gold coins, but me diving into malt.
Oh, dude, they're big like that. Have
Yeah.
you seen the size of them?
Yeah.
They're
Let's do it.
freaking enormous.
There's no way we're getting through all of this in 15 minutes, so maybe we'll do 2 breaks because I don't really want to rush the whole episode either.
Why
Is
don't we
there-
just call a break now and come back when you're done your call?
Because it's not until 7:30. We've got 15 minutes before my call.
For those playing at home,
Sure.
Peter has to make a work call, and
On a
it's
Sunday
interrupting. It's interrupting our podcast time. And hey, maybe
sweet.
I can fix my light in that time. That'd be great.
Yeah, we're going live with a project that's been running for 3.5 years, so it's all led up to
Yay,
this
Peter!
weekend.
You're doing it. You're doing a thing.
Anyway,
So
we
Pete
will,
comes through at the champion right in the last 3 weeks of it.
More
He's
like-
the one that gets
Yeah,
it
but
over the line.
but I've still got Teflon covering on because if anything goes wrong, sorry, I just got here, guys.
He's doing the what's his name from the Winter Olympics. He's skating through at the last minute after everyone's
Stephen Bradbury.
See, he's doing the Bradbury. He's pulling a Bradbury.
He's doing the Bradbury.
Yeah.
Oh fuck!
All the glory. Yep.
Got a couple of quick reviews to get through, but lots of them. So I might start with Picard because I'll talk quickly and then move on to Dan. So Picard series finale. So the end of season 3 is all they're doing. The whole season ended up being the Next Generation cast, all of them, like all of the original cast members.
Yeah, it was like
from the
number
Next
1
Gen.
was there, and
So
it was-
Riker was there,
Yeah.
Geordie LaForge, fucking oh Jesus, why is my brain not working?
Data.
Data was there. Fuck, he looked good as Data, but as a more human Data because now he's obviously
they've let him get
Picard
old.
was there.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, they even had an explanation as to why he got old, which I thought was cool. That because the robot, the guy that built him was always trying to create a synthetic human as opposed to a robot. And so he built the aging process into his body, which I thought was cool. A lot of old stories came back. So things like Data's brother. It's not Loki, but it sounds like Loki, for example. They kind of wrapped up that story.
SSD?
I was just amazed that these people are in their 60s, late 60s at youngest. Like the youngest cast member that was on there was in their late 60s, all the way up to mid 80s. And there's 7 or 8 of them, and none of them have passed away. And statistically, I found that really quite impressive. I know it sounds dark, but
It's all that Hollywood bathing in baby's blood, man. just
Sign me
it
the
just
fuck
keeps them
when they weren't at
Just
Epstein's fucking island, they were bathing in
just keeps
baby's
them-
blood.
keeps them fresh and beautiful with their longevity. I shouldn't say that because I'd love this cast too. I'm sorry. That was a dig that had to be put out there with a conversation.
I
that
thought
was
you were about to say you love bathing in baby's blood, and that's why you shouldn't dig on that. But hey, that's fair.
It's Children's Tears of Disappointment is Dan's
Yeah,
chosen.
Children's Tears. Yeah, I'll go with that one. Yep, Tears of Disappointment.
But 7 of 9. So there were a few appearances from the Voyager cast. So 7 of 9 was there. Tuvok was there, who was the
Vulcan.
Tuvok, the Vulcan science officer, and a few
About
other
the
bits,
dinosaur
a
hunter.
few other cameos. You had the voice of Chenkov's grandson.
Okay. Yeah.
They brought back the fucking Enterprise. Like, it was a gangbuster of a season finale. It really was. And it all centered around an old enemy that they brought back, and they did it in a very cool way. So I won't
Series finale or season finale?
both. So it's it.
Okay.
They're not doing any more. But they did leave the end open to a new TV series. Now, that they haven't talked about, they haven't confirmed, but if they did it, I actually think they've picked a fucking corker of a lead. So Ed Spielers, who's been in a few things recently, is in You. He's the main bad guy in season 3 of You. You'll know his face, I suspect, but he hasn't been in too much.
What is his name? Ed.
Ed Spielers. Spelleers.
Oh, yep. I got him.
Actually, really good actor. He's an English actor. So he was, and I will ruin part of the Picard story for season 3. He is Picard's son. Now, if anyone's watched The Next Generation as a series, or 14 seasons or whatever it is, you'll know that Picard always talked about wanting to have a family, and it dealt with it in quite a few different episodes about him running out of time, just never settling down long enough. He was a ship captain first. His real family was Starfleet, but he was always tied up in that kind of dialogue around it's the thing that he didn't get to tick off in his life. He's one of the most accomplished career captains, but that was one thing that he didn't get done. And
Hey, man, he got the ultimate child. He got a fucking clone.
True.
Was he the main guy in... Oh, he was. He was the main guy in that Aragon dragon without a D. Remember that?
Aragon.
Fuck,
Wow.
he's not a bad-looking fella.
Are you kidding? Is that him all grown up? I didn't even recognize him.
Oh, get him
That's
up.
got to be 16, 17 years
Yeah,
ago. It's
yeah.
not quite 20. It's got to be in those
Wow.
high teens.
Well, I did not pick that up.
Aragon
I'm
was
impressed.
2006. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's 35.
Fuck, man. Wow. I did not even see it, hey. Wow. Okay.
He was, yeah.
But like Picard, it was brilliant. And they set him up, so that's his son. So he plays Picard's son. They set him up as probably a captain, I guess, of a future Enterprise. I mean, it's open-ended. They might do it, they might not, but I think it'd be really cool if they did. I'm going to pass the torch.
Yeah.
That's it for me on Picard. Over to Dan on Evil Dead Rise. You finally went and saw it.
What do you mean finally went and saw it? It's only been out for 2 days.
No, but I mean, you finally got to see it because you've been talking about it. No,
bitch.
No, you've been talking about it for fucking ages. You finally got to see it.
I know. I have a slight problem. Yes, I was a very, very excited.
That's your problem.
You fell asleep.
Giddy child to go and see a completely gross and off-the-wall weirdo horror movie. Can you call it a horror movie? It's kind of like it kind of has its own genre, the Evil Dead movies. Would you call them horror? I don't know.
No,
I don't
you
know.
would
They're
call them horror because
they're
then
like
you got- then you
body
got
horror.
But then you got Japanese horror, which shits on whatever Evil Dead can do.
Yeah. It's definitely Hollywood horror. You're
it's a
100%
strange-
right. It's not.
It's still a horror film, though.
Yeah, and it's very off the wall. I don't want to spoil anything because there is a few things that I picked up through it. Monsters, Deadites, and well, I mean, they give in all the trailers. You see I've got the cast listing up here, so I don't get their names wrong. Alyssa Sutherland, she's the main lady. She's Australian. She's from Vikings, and she's the mother of 3 kids, and her sister comes to visit in the apartment block. And this is what I love about the Evil Dead movies: is they're small stories, other than Army of Darkness. They're small stories that are set in like almost single locations, and this doesn't go away from that. It's set in an apartment building. She gets
like Dread.
Oh, not quite. Just from a
It's
level.
almost a
Just a
yardstick
level.
for small story, is it?
Imagine
Yeah.
that. That'd be epic.
It's set on one level of the apartment building, almost in one apartment.
Yeah.
And one apartment and the car park is the two locations.
Hmm.
And it's there's some things I want to say, but it's only been out for 2 days. I know a huge amount of people won't go and see it, but I don't want to spoil some bits and pieces in there for any Evil Dead fans. But it was a continuation of the Evil Dead movie that came out. Not an official continuation, but you can see it's in the same vein. It has the same feel as the one that came out in like 2015. The practical effects are fantastic. Lots of vomit, lots of blood. People that are also going to hate blood-colored corn syrup for the rest of their lives, because two of them literally almost get drowned in. There's so much of it that they almost
more than
the
first one, because you've talked about that a few times too.
Well, it was raining it at that stage. It wasn't confined in a space. This one is confined in a space.
Right.
And yeah, the practical effects are fantastic. There's no holds barred. Nobody is off limits in it. There's a lot of gore and a couple of little shocking moments, some fantastic Evil Dead one-liners, and it was just it was what I'd hoped for, and what I hope is the start and continuation of this modern Evil Dead franchise that they're building. Or if it completely flops, we're not going to get another one, but I don't think it will. I think it'll get enough money to get at least one more movie. And when it's been out for a little bit longer, maybe when it comes to streaming or something, I'll talk about it again and talk about my theories behind it. But
yeah, because we'll have an opportunity to watch it then too.
Yeah. When you guys watch it, maybe we'll do a bit of a spoiler coverage there as well. But
yeah,
I thought it was great and highly recommend it for anybody that has a sick, twisted thriller horror sense of humor and has a mildly strong stomach, because there was even one point where I I don't like that. That was me. So
yeah, I'm not great with gore these days.
As long as it's
I've gotten
not
worse over
ankles
time.
being twisted to breakage, because that now I can't watch anything with that because of personal experience.
Yeah,
that's the only thing that sets me off.
fucked things for me, man. I mean,
I can watch like when John Wick breaks an arm. I'm like, so.
Oh yeah, but we're desensitized to that kind of.
No,
violence.
but if you change that to him like kicking out someone's ankle, I'm like, nope. Bad
Can't
John
do
Wick.
it.
Bad one. No, go to your room. Go to your room, John Wick, and sit and think about what you just did.
For me, it's always going to be trying to reach into the box of razor blades with the that lift up and to grab the key to get out. Yeah, no, that's or just the whole Saw franchise was my first exposure to Hollywood true gore, and I can't do it anymore. I just can't.
Yeah, well, this is next level, and they actually do something really fun at the end. And I said because
fun.
Louise went.
Are we going to use the word fun?
Okay, let me rephrase that. Potentially not fun. Interesting and very
innovative.
Universe.
Let's use innovative.
Innovative, yeah. In universe, innovative. That it was something different that you can definitely go, oh God, like this is so within that world that hasn't been done before. And I was really happy with that they just didn't regurgitate another storyline from what we saw in the original remake, the 2015 remake or whatever it was.
13.
13. I don't want to talk about it because it is a very fun, once again, sorry. It's an interesting turn of events when it comes to the finale.
Excellent.
Yeah, cool. I think on that note, we'll probably take a break. And we're back. We are back to talk about our third beers.
Yes. I'm pouring. So someone else go.
Dan, do you want to go first?
I don't know. You can go first.
I haven't even tasted mine yet. Okay.
Oh,
all right.
Okay.
That's all right. I can go. I'll ad-lib this shit. So this is Batch Brewing Citrus Sunset Grapefruit Red IPA. I don't know.
Gross. What a horrible beer company.
6.5%. It's going to be interesting.
Can I be biased before you get into it?
Sure.
I've drunk like 2 cases of this. In the last
So obviously you hate it.
I fucking love this beer. This is one of the best beers that Batch has made in years. And as someone who works for him,
Ooh.
I'm obviously usually critiquing of their beers.
Overly critical, yeah.
Fucking love this beer. It's only superseded recently. Like I've stopped drinking it at work, like as my staffy, because I found a keg that we cold cellared for 2 years. I'm pretty sure everyone forgot about except me. But there was a keg of our Schwartz beer that we left in the cellar for 2 years, and I recently tapped it, and holy god balls, that is tasting so good right now. Yeah,
That's good.
that's the only thing that stopped me drinking this beer, because I am absolutely loving this. This is one of the best. I love a red IPA, and I know I've said this before, but I am wholeheartedly on board with this beer. It's one of the best beers the guys have made.
Wow.
Anyway, Pete, what do you think of it?
It'd be weird if I said that I didn't like it.
No, it wouldn't.
After a wind-up like that.
You'd be like, Tom, you're a fucking dumb you don't know what you're talking about. Sorry, that was the C word.
You
Damn it.
mongrel bastard.
It's only 2:43 minutes into the second half.
I know. I've just got to write it down before I forget. 2:43. Okay. I think it is good. It's unusual. I get a lot more roasty malt than I expected out of a red IPA. Not a bad thing. I think it's fantastic, actually. It's probably the best red IPA I've ever had. Usually it's just a super bitter, dry, hard to drink fucking acid bath for me. But this is actually really good. I get obviously shitloads of grapefruit straight off the bat. But almost I don't think biscuity is the right word for the malt body, but it's certainly, it's not dark roasty, it's red roasty. I don't know if that makes any sense.
But perhaps toffee or
Caramelized?
caramelly?
It's definitely caramel. That's what it is.
Dan and I reading the style guideline for a red IPA in the background there.
and it does have a sweetness to it as well. In the back palate, it's subtle, but it's definitely present. This is fucking great. Actually, I'm very impressed.
You can see why I've drunk 2 cases of it, like in a week and a half almost. Yeah,
and yeah, I can get behind toffee as a descriptor as well. Yeah, very good. I'm going to give that a 4.5. That's a cracking red. That's, like I said, that's the best red I've ever had. So, nothing will ever erase the bad memory I have of the red IPA I had in Lebanon from one of their. I think there's only two craft breweries in Lebanon.
This one.
Yeah, and it was just. I'm pretty sure you could have used it to clean fucking paint off your brush. Anyway, Dan, do you want to go next, mate? Have you made a decision?
I've made a decision. I don't like the decision, but I've made a decision. I think we've definitely had the previous version of this on before. It's Bacchus Brewing from Queensland, peanut butter and jelly time. I know because we've probably made several Family Guy jokes about peanut butter and jelly time.
Still making them.
It is. Yeah, and I mean, they even say on
you said the thing and I had to do the thing. It's like, that's law. Yeah.
They do say it on the back now that it's inspired by USA cartoon series The Family Guy. So they acknowledge that.
USA cartoon series?
Yeah, I don't know.
It feels like a weird way to put it. Yeah.
It was. It was like designate that it's not. It's not from here.
Yeah.
This is the Americans doing this. It's really artificial fruity. It's got maybe a bit of nuttiness on the back palate once all the fruit goes down. It's really thin. It's quite astringent, hard astringent bitterness from like strawberry seeds. The seeds on the outside of the fruit. It's not particularly pleasant. I'm not sure I'll get through this glass. It's nowhere near as if you have peanut butter and jam, which most Australians don't because it's a very American thing to have peanut butter and jelly. For our American friends out there, jelly over here is called
and you should be committed.
Jam. Jam or conserve, as the English would call it.
Some strawberry conserve.
Lovely compote sometimes.
It's just too artificial. It doesn't even come across as what we would designate as sort of a jammy kind of character. It's too thin. It's too bitter. It's out of balance. Yeah, it's I don't know.
Can you hold it up for a second? It doesn't even look the right color.
It's a red. It's a red IPA.
It's
not even a red IPA.
It's like super.
There's Dan through the glass. Oh,
Yeah.
no,
Yeah.
Put that back down. Put it down.
It's listed as a red
Is that
ale.
a thing of nightmares, Tom? You just want to.
No, that's the thing.
Is that
Pleasant
what-
dreams.
That's
the weird thing. I need to
Is that
put
what you
down.
see through the bottom of your beer glass every time you pick it up now?
It's listed on Untapped as a red ale.
Yeah,
Maybe an English red ale by look at it.
I guess. The maltiness isn't there. It's not backed up by any of that. It's like I said. It's just super thin and reasonably. I shouldn't say unpleasant, but it's that artificial fruit character coming through. I don't even know if
when
it
you
is.
think of a Bacchus brew, usually they're like bursting with fruit flavor because they do it on those small scales where they can add all that fruit without, sending the price skyrocketing.
Mm.
Well, it does say fruit extract
on
on it. Water, barley, oats, lactose,
Yeah.
peanut, fruit extract, hops, and yeast. I'm sorry, man. There's not that much redeemable about this, so I'm going to go a rounds number this time, just because I don't want to go. Ooh, I don't want to give it the quarter point, and I don't think it deserves the quarter point taken away. So we're going a 2 on this one.
Wow.
A flat 2.
We got him finally. He's off his quarter points.
Yeah, for the moment.
Technically, a 2 is a quarter point.
It is a quarter point. That's right. It's 8 of them.
Anything's
what are you
a quarter point
drinking?
if you put your mind to it.
What are you drinking, Tom?
I said to Dan that I would have one of the Fresh Harvest. I'm having IPA, so I'm having the Bridge Road and Firestone Walker Dark Harvest, which is their black IPA, fresh hop black IPA. It is 6.6%, as the devil would request. The label has been done by someone who is blind in both eyes, so they can get in the bin. The can's also dented. Like, fuck me. Take some presentation.
Where's the
Dogs.
pride?
Fucking dogs. Look, so they say that this is the 2023 vintage. It uses fresh hops, cones that are picked and added to the beer within 6 hours. As if that means jack shit to fucking anyone who isn't on that farm. And I think this is the thing with fresh hop beers, as Dan was kind of referencing to before. Like, you talk to the average person who drinks a beer, the average Joe who goes into a bottle shop and gets this can. And look, it's a kind of cool can. Like, yeah, it's a little hoppy with Ziggy Stardust eyes. It's got Big Bridge Road, and then it's got Firestone Walker. And everyone, if you knew who those two breweries were, you'd be like, hey, that's a collaboration made in heaven. Like, thinking Bridge Road makes some really good hazy IPAs and some really good, like, non-hazy IPAs. And you think Firestone Walker, they're one of the pioneering American IPA brewers, but also who make really good dark stuff. And like, you think about their stouts and their barrel-aged beers, it's like that's where Firestone Walker really cut their teeth. And then you get this, and it's just like, it's not bad, but it's not groundbreaking. And it's just like, the fact you've added this in within 6 hours, good on ya. Like, no one actually gives a flying fuck. It pours a beautiful, beautiful dark brown, black. It's a little more browny than I would probably request from a black IPA. Like, Normally a bit more of that roasted, like, and all that black malt comes through. See you, Dan. Yeah, good chat.
That was weird.
And look, the roastiness is there. The roastiness is definitely there. It's coming through. It's quite pleasant. There's a nice hit of hop character coming through, but it's no different from a black IPA they would have had where they've like, yeah, we added T90 pellets or some fucking cryo pellets or something that's been pelletized. Like nothing about this beer screams, oh my God, the hops are fresh. Like and I'm sure some Cicerone, if any Cicerones listen to this, because they're probably,
lack self-respect enough.
Well, self-flagellating or something like that. But just like they would probably taste it and go, oh no, you can taste all these nuances. And I'm like, cool. I'm going to teabag you when you sleep. That's what I'm going to do. Because there's no difference.
I don't know, but Alexa just started playing some country music in the background from something you just said, Tom.
Teabag home, take me home. Look, it's a solid beer. It's a solid black IPA, but as Dan said, the fresh hop aspect doesn't detract. It just really feels like a fucking gimmick. It's the most gimmicky thing I think I've seen added to beers in recent years, and let's give it a 3.75.
Cool.
It's not flying me home, but I am going to enjoy it. Yeah, and the fresh hop aspect can get in the bin.
Fuck right off. All right,
or be pelletized and be brought back at a later date when they're curated and tasting better.
We're gonna move this get the show on the road because we've got catch up to do. So, Tom,
yes.
Can you run us through your Super Mario Brothers movie review, please?
Holy shit! Best film in the last 10 years.
Wow,
best film in the last 10 years, hands down. In the sense, I knew you guys were waiting for the kick.
No, I was about to move us on.
No, in the sense that I haven't walked out of a film in the last 10 years and felt that happy, pleased, just pure enjoyment. It was just pure enjoyment as a thing. So as I said to the guys, like, I got locked out of the new house, new space, new recording space. I got locked out of the house because I left my keys home because I'm a dumb fuck. And went and had a pub lunch, had a beer, and still had 2 hours to kill. So I went and watched the Mario movie. And it was just one of those things where I walked in and I was just like, cool. Like, I know it's a kid's movie, so I have lower expectations already for like how much it's going to hit me. Sat through it in the first 12 minutes. Let's give or take that actual measurement. I had a beaming fucking smile on my face when Luigi's ringtone is the GameCube startup sound. Like, just pure joy. I was like, that's fucking great. Watch the film. Look, Chris Pratt and Anna Taylor-Joy and to a extent Jack Black, they're not the greatest voice actors. So the voice acting really could have used that elevation from using actual voice actors, because this is a different style of acting. That said, though, the Jack Black Peaches song has been stuck in my head ever since, and I will never forget it, to the point where I did a video. My nephew sent me a video of him singing it, and I sung it back to him, and now that's our favorite thing to do. But like, and like Seth Rogen as Donkey Kong, like, it was just Seth Rogen. Like, so that's a bit shit.
It's always
like,
just fucking Seth Rogen.
Yeah. It's just, he even had the Seth Rogen stoner laugh at one point. I was like, nah, fuck off, man. Like, you can do better than that. But like, all little like cutaways, the music, the score by it's by Tyler Bates, who did
oh wow,
AC4. Yeah,
Tyler,
and he's done a bunch of shit. But it is the
he
best.
Was Marilyn Manson's guitarist for a little while as well.
He's been a composer for years. Yeah.
Yeah.
But so like, Pete, for you, like he did the AC4 soundtrack.
Yeah.
He's done a bunch of soundtracks for movies, film, like games, everything.
All the John Wicks.
Yeah, 100%. And it's like the way he remixed
Guardians Volume 2.
He was involved in it. Yeah, he did the soundtrack for 1 and 2, I'm pretty sure.
And yes, 300, you're right.
But the way he remixes the Koji Kondo original Mario tunes to suit the style, like, so this is not a spoiler or anything, like, but there's a scene where Bowser is playing a piano. He's just done the whole Peaches song, which you will hear in every meme for the next like 10 years. And and it's like it's Bowser playing a piano, and then he gets the wizard, who is one of the original Mario characters, also meant to be his dad, and he goes, "Come jam with me," and they jam, and he just goes da 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 da, and I'm like, I'm out, I'm done. No, fuck this. This is too much. This is too good.
I'm spent.
Yeah, and that's just like listen to that. But then I've listened to the soundtrack like on a walk, and it's the entire film soundtrack, and it's just beautifully done the way that they have their theme for the Mario movie, but he keeps weaving in the original Koji Kondo themes from the games. And it's just done really well. It's very clever. The story is like a Pixar like Illumination film. There's a little bit at the end where you're like, oh yeah, that's kind of like. I mean, I'd had a couple of beers by this stage. I was like, well, yeah, that gets me. It's brothers. There's brothers. It's brothers doing things together. That's kind of cute. But like the rest of it was like, it's that Illumination artwork where they live up to that name of Illumination because everything is so bright, but so well, but so well lit and done. It's very crisp. It's very clear. It was a beautiful film. And yeah, look, if I was going to give that score, it's a 4.75 out of 5. I fucking loved it. I haven't walked out of a film in that long and felt that happy. It just filled me with pure joy. Like the story was not out of this world. It wasn't like any certain set piece that really. It was just the entire like film thing. And this is saying, going back to the cinematic experience, there were some idiots sitting in the row in front of me wearing unicorn hats and whatever, and chittering and chattering all through the trailers. And then but it was one of those moments, as soon as the film started, they shut the fuck up because I was like, here we go. I'm going to have to be the angry old man again and tell them to shut the fuck up because I'm watching a film at the Dendy in Newtown at 2 p.m. in the afternoon like an idiot. But yeah, as soon as the film started, and it was the same as the last one I saw at the Dendy where it was like the row of bros and they all shut up just as the film started. No one said an absolute peep. Maybe one or two kids coughed, and I turned around to them and shot them daggers. Like, silence. But yeah, it's a beautifully shot film. The only thing it loses points for is the using known actors for the voice actors, which aren't voice actors. You lose a bit of the effect there. Otherwise, brilliance, absolute brilliance. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. It's good.
That's me.
Well, from a brilliant movie review to another brilliant movie review, I saw. Has anyone else seen Dungeons and Dragons yet?
No.
Emma has, and she fucking loved it.
Go and see it.
She fucking loved it. Yeah.
So I hated my cinema experience because I went to gold class and I still had put up with fuckwits. I had a couple in their probably late 40s, early 50s, so established adults, probably have adult kids, talking at conversational volume in the middle of the fucking movie. Like, shut the fuck up, dude. Like, no one gives a shit what your opinion is. And then you have the springy, creaky noise of the fucking people moving their seats around. That's not something anyone did wrong. That's just old fucking seats that they need to replace. But anyway, the actual movie...
WD-40.
Yeah, that's it. The actual movie was fucking great. Like, the comedy hit... It wasn't overplayed, so like the jokes weren't too much to make up for a lack of story. The timing was perfectly, like it was perfectly cut in terms of editing, so that the timing works well for the jokes. Hugh Grant as a fucking bad guy, and he's not a hardcore bad guy. He's more like I'm just going to take advantage of the situation kind of bad guy. Yeah. He's fucking great. The big bad was awesome. In fact, the whole cast fucking killed it. Chris Pine did a great job. Chris and Michelle Rodriguez are both starting to show their age, though, in that show. I mean, I don't know how old Michelle Rodriguez is, but she doesn't look bad. I'm not being offensive or anything. It's just she's not a spring chicken. She is 44. So there you go. Yeah, it just reminded me of... It's good to know that there are some new original story adventure films coming out, because that's what we grew up with.
Age. Chris Pine's 42.
Yeah. We grew up with those kinds of adventure films.
How accurate was it, Peter? How accurate was it?
Oh, look, I'm not it's not like I've memorized the Dungeon Master Guide. Not so much that. It's more like the Monster Manual. But
previous episodes would probably argue that you have.
Dispute that. Yes.
in like, so all of the creatures were
Is it 101 or 102? Come on, man. Just tell me that much.
Is it what? I didn't even get the question.
The rules change that you were talking about.
Oh, fuck off.
Got him.
Look, everything fits into the standard standard world, the standard game rules. All the spells are real, all the creatures were real, all the classes were real insofar as, you know, actors or characters fitting a class. The paladin was hilarious. He was not just the butt of most of the jokes, but also was genuinely funny in how self-righteous he is. They did a great job of playing that off as funny rather than, because it could have gotten fatiguing really quickly, could have just gotten annoying. But I just thought it was a great adventure movie. It reminded me of things like Indiana Jones and The Last Crusade when we were growing up, or you know, The Explorers or Flight of the Navigator. Or, I mean, it's not pitched at a super young audience, but I could easily see kind of early teens all the way through to adults thoroughly enjoying this movie. So, yeah, good, clean fun. And all-star cast, like, did a great job. That is my review. Oh, and I've got the next one too. That's right. We're going to finish with Dan. So I'll be really quick on this next one. Extrapolations. I talked about it last episode. The series final aired this week, I believe it was. Maybe it was late last week. So I believe they're only doing one season. It wouldn't make sense to do a second season. Kit Harington stars in the final episode, and they introduced a new word for my lexicon, which in retrospect is an obvious word, but is kind of scary. Ecocide. So I'd never heard of that term before, but it's the exact term that made sense to the situation. You know, at the end of the day, in the show, it's set in 2070. Mm-hmm. Turns out they've had the technology to remove carbon from the air all this time, and because it was more profitable to not release that technology because they were selling oxygen tanks and pharmaceuticals to deal with, you know, summer heart and all the other side conditions. And then when that finally they get cornered into having to release the technology, a bunch of old white men get together and basically decide what part per million CO2 level they're going to aim for. They're not going to solve the problem. They're just going to reduce the problem enough for everyone to continue to want to spend. Like, it is so realistic there is no doubt that is exactly how it's going to unfold. We might save ourselves, but if we do, you can bet your bottom dollar someone will have extracted maximum money out of suffering before they solve the problem. If they're not
bottom
already.
dollar, somebody's going to get that bottom dollar.
Yeah. So it was all the way through. That series is thoroughly worth watching for a good insight into what might happen. I would even go so far as to say, in a lot of cases, broad brush will probably happen. And it just
where's my Strider knife right now?
and just reminds me as to why I'm so jaded about the human population or the human condition. Our propensity for self-destruction knows no bounds. Dan, the Oak Room.
This is an interesting reflection on our personalities, Pete, and the things that we pay attention to. That's not quite right. But the things that we find interesting, because I mean, you've talked about you've watched this, what's it called?
Extrapolations,
and the Foundation, and those sort of big, expansive, sort of larger story kind of across humankind.
Oh, I'm gathering data on this. I'm the Google Home in this situation. Don't you worry.
And the Oak Room goes back to exactly what I like. It's a small
tiny
story.
Stories, yeah.
It's a small story. There is, for lack of, there's two sets. There's two rooms in this entire hour and a half, but maybe a little bit over an hour and a half movie. There's 7 cast members, but there's really only 4 that have any sort of really decent dialogue in the whole movie. And then there's a 5th that has a little bit of dialogue. And it is, I guess, coming from a hospitality background as well as just having been in it for a long time, around that environment, the idea of it being set in a bar in a stormy, snowy part of remote Canada really appeals to me. There's two people sitting in the bar. There's the bartender and the person that's there. And it's just a small story about
I'm going to watch this.
It's
looks
fantastic.
brilliant.
I love it. It was, you can tell whoever wrote it and filmed it took inspiration on the way that Tarantino does
I
conversations.
was just about to say, it's just sounding like that
Yeah.
Tarantino.
Cody Callahan, he's a Canadian writer and director.
Yeah, it's not on the really eccentric side of conversations like Tarantino's. Like, I can't really think of a different way to put it than that. But just everyday conversations. So it's about this young guy that comes back to his hometown after his father's passed away, and goes and his father's best friend runs the local bar. It's a stormy, snowy night in Canada. The son comes home to collect some of his father's goods and ashes, and the father's best friend sits him down and says, "You've got a lot of fucking nerve for showing back up here now. You couldn't even come to the funeral. Why are you here now?" And the son ends up saying to him, "Okay, well, I can't pay you back the money that I owe you, so there's some history there. But what I'll trade to you is I'll trade to you a story." And the bartender's like, "I don't want a fucking story. Like, I don't want to hear your
my
story.
cash, yeah.
Yeah, I want to get paid."
I'd be the exact same. I'd be like, get the fuck out then. Like,
Yeah, I don't want to hear your story. And he's like, no, you're going to want to hear this. It's like a great story. You're going to want to hear it. And in the end, the bartender's like, yeah, fuck it. Like, we've got 30 minutes to kill or 45 minutes to kill until this other plot point comes into play. Tell me, I don't care. As long as you're here when the hour's up, like, just fucking talk to me. I don't care. Just tell me this story. And he starts to tell the story, and then
that's
it flashes.
a bad bartender right there. You need to, like, everyone listening at home, pay your fucking tabs. Fuck you. Cash money, bitches.
And then it flashes to the second set, which is another bar, and the other bar is called the Oak Room. So the story is actually about the Oak Room, not the bar where the story is being told. And he starts to tell the story about this, and it's just acted out between two more actors, the bartender and a guy that comes late into a snowy, stormy bar late in remote Canada. And it's just these two snowy, stormy bars with these two bartenders and these two patrons that gets played out. And it's a thriller. That's the only thing I could think to class it as, is a thriller. And it's literally four people talking to each other for an hour and a half. And it's fantastic. I loved it, and more movies need to be made in this vein, and more exposures need to be given to movies made in this vein.
Yeah, and that's just the theater experience being portrayed to film.
Yes.
Yeah. Which is not a derogatory take at this film. That's if you can turn a theater experience like four people in two bars talking to each other into a motion picture film, you are a brilliant director. Like, that is my take on it. It's just like, it's a special skill that you have to do.
It's funny because he's not a big director, and the writer hasn't written much of anything. I think this is his second ever movie. It is his second ever movie.
I would hate for them to now be snatched up into big franchises and lose the spark.
Well, this movie's not new. This is a 2020.
It's a 2020.
Movie.
Yeah.
It's
it's fantastic. If you've got the time to watch it and you just want something calm and small, and the world isn't at stake, and it's just a personal story between these people, I guarantee you will enjoy it. If you're listening to this, there is some commonality in the things we enjoy. I guarantee you'll like it.
Yeah, that's cool. Cool. Let's move on to trailer trash. That's good. I'm going to have to watch that. I'm going to add that to the list, Dan. First trailer is Ahsoka. I'm actually a little excited for this.
Peter, you're excited for a Star Wars thing.
We've parked Mando. We're going to talk about that next episode as a primary topic. I have been feeling a little bit of Star Wars fatigue. It just, there hasn't been a lot that's gotten me excited with the word Star Wars as a prefix lately. I don't know why. Just is.
Probably a reflection on you more than anything else.
But
That was too mean. I'm very sorry. That was
it's fine.
But seriously, you should consider that.
Filoni is obviously the showrunner. Stars. Yeah, I gotta say, I went to IMDb and typed in Ahsoka, which I've found some very reputable news reporting agencies online that are still misspelling her fucking name. It's not that hard to get it right. You're fucking journalists. Fucking check your shit. Like, it really pisses me off that we live in an age where proper professional journalists don't understand basic spelling or grammar.
It's 3.
So unprofessional. Anyway, Ahsoka, it kind of bugged me a little bit that I went to IMDb, looked and opened up the entry for that series, and you go to stars and it lists Wes Chatham ahead of Rosario Dawson.
Oh, does it?
That got under my fucking skin.
That's fair.
I love Wes Chatham. He was you'll know his face straight away. He was one of the main cast from The Expanse. He played Amos.
That doesn't help me because I never watched that.
He's a manly man. He was also in Hunger Games and a few other things. You would have seen him in Tenet. He's been in a bunch of other shit. He's a very well-built, well-put-together human with a fucking great beard.
So he's the first listed on Ahsoka?
On Ahsoka. Not the titular character. That pisses me off. Hayden Christensen is obviously also in this. Lars Mikkelsen, Mary Elizabeth Winstead. This fucking great cast.
Yeah, he's playing the ISB agent. Is that Captain
Enoch?
Yeah.
David Tennant is in this series, which I didn't know.
He voiced the droid in Clone Wars.
And Ezra
Ray
Bridger
Stevens is in it.
So Eamon Esfandi is playing Ezra Bridger, who's the main young Jedi in Rebels, which I've just started watching.
Ezra. He
does look perfectly like him. I've only just started watching Rebels, and I've gobbled up a whole season in 3 days.
Pete, you know, I think why he's listed first.
What?
Alphabetically.
Explain to me, Yoda.
He's listed as 8 episodes, whereas everyone else is only listed one episode. So someone's gone in and edited. Someone's gone in and edited his profile, so it looks like he's the main character. Yeah,
I hope you're right.
No, Rosario Dawson is the main character, and anyone tells me different, I will cut their face.
Of course, she's the main fucking character. But the trailer looks actually pretty fucking good. She's badass. Was there an orange lightsaber in this trailer?
There was, and oh my god, Filoni has been blown up by it. It's fucking fantastic. So Filoni actually said, and here we go. Bring the microphone in close for this one. So Filoni actually said that it was a really good pick by the studio that first picked it and sent it to him, which I think was Kotaku, were the first ones to like hit him up in an interview and be like, "Hey, that Ahsoka trailer was really cool. Why the fuck do they have orange lightsabers?" And he goes, I wasn't sure that anyone would pick up on that.
Oh, how could you not?
Well, his thing is that like he was talking about how when he remembers watching Empire Strikes Back, that Vader's lightsaber wasn't quite exactly pure red, but it was kind of orange, and like so he's talking about that these guys might not be actually pure Siths. They're grey dark Jedis, if you want to use that as like the thing.
I like a world with shades of grey.
I think that's how they're listed.
50 of them?
They're listed as Dark Jedi.
Yeah, but it's the whole thing is because this is also set
in the same time as all the others.
Yeah, in that weird post Empire, pre New Order.
Yeah,
pre come, I don't know, whatever. It's just it's but the Ray Stevenson's character who definitely looks like more of a an Emperor Vader like follower in the way, especially in his combat style. Like you watch him in that trailer where he does the Vader choke in the hallway while still slashing at people. Like,
yeah.
And then you look at the apprentice that he has. And I say apprentice only in the fact that she looks younger than he does. I don't know what their character like situation is. She could be she could be Grogu style. She could be like 600 years old. I don't know. But the way that she moves is more like Barriss Offee, who was the Jedi who went bad in Clone Wars. So yeah, and all that Dave Filoni said was like, "That's a really good catch. Well done." I was kind of hoping that someone would pick up on that.
Of course, he was hoping someone would pick up.
But then nothing else. Nothing else has been said on the subject.
That's perfectly him too,
Yeah.
though. It's just. And I think this is going to be the Thrawn story that was hinted at the end of Man.
They have cast
Lars
Stregobor as Thrawn. Yeah,
and
for those playing home. Yeah.
Mads's older brother. Mads Mikkelsen. Yeah.
Mads Mikkelsen. Yeah.
They're all fucking connected, aren't they? Dogs,
especially when they share a surname, Tom.
They're both in Star Wars.
Yes. So, yeah, August this year, we're getting that show. Next trailer was The Marvels, which is due out 10th of November, directed by Nia DaCosta and obviously starring Brie Larson.
I think this is a really fun take on the superhero persona in the switching bodies thing. I think that's going to be, I think that can play out really fun if they do it well.
I am ready to be entertained because I really, really enjoyed Miss Marvel. That was a fresh,
Miss Marvel was great.
Different perspective. It didn't take itself at all seriously. It had some cool cultural elements in it that you wouldn't usually associate with a Marvel mainstream Hollywood. As long as they don't use it as a poster child for political, some of the crap that we've seen in Marvel lately or in Disney lately, not so much Marvel specifically. I just don't want it to be a man-hating show. And there's a small chance, in my opinion, that might turn out to be what this is.
I think they've got a really good thing going with the, especially, I just think more, I was focusing on the character changing ability.
Oh, no, I know exactly what you were talking about. I think that's great.
Yeah. I think that's a really clever way to tell a story, though. Like, if you think about a story beat, if you're having one character, like if you're having Captain Marvel right there, and you're talking to her and you're delivering like a speech and whatever, like this is how we're going to kill the bad guys, and then something happens to her mid-speech without being like too Monty Python slapstick comedy, but that she gets changed to, say, Miss Marvel, and then you have to try and tell a teenager the same thing you were telling a fully fledged like
adult
soldier.
Well, she's not just an adult either.
Yeah, it's a soldier. Like she's an Air Force pilot. It's like it's trying to do that kind of like switch in but especially if you do that in the same like scenario scene thing. I think that's a very, very fun way to like redo the hero journey kind of story that they're obviously going to have to tell in a Marvel movie.
Yeah, but she's not just a soldier, dude. She's at this stage. By this stage, Captain Marvel has protected the fucking universe. She's a class A threat. Like she's not just a soldier. She's like fucking Green Lantern.
That's what I was referring to. Is more just like taking from that level to, but also
every time they use their powers, they swap places. That was what was established.
Which is what the trailer shows. But even if it was able to skip the Monica Rambeau level, who is also a soldier, and go to the Miss Marvel child, I think that's a really fun.
I think it's got the potential to be good.
Storytelling placement thing.
I think what I was saying is. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I know what you're saying, but it's just like I that's the thing that I'm most hoping for out of that
Me
story.
Too. I just hope it's not a fucking political lightning rod. That's all. I just hope they don't go down that route because there's a 50-50 chance that they'll just make this a good, entertaining show with some strong female leads and just let it speak for itself like they did with the original Captain Marvel. Because there wasn't too much over the top, hey, look at this storyline. It wasn't an all-girls Ghostbusters film that kept poking fun at all the men in the show, right? That's what I'm talking about. You can take it too far, and they have taken it too far in the past. As long as they don't do that here, I am ready to be entertained. Should we move on?
Jumping on board.
Dan looks like he's falling asleep.
I have zero interest in Marvel at general at the moment. It stopped when Love and Thunder was a steaming pile of crap.
Yeah.
I'm not going to see Ant-Man. I'm not going to see this, and I'm probably not going to watch anything from them for a very long time.
Fair enough. The next one is very different, though. The Boogeyman.
That's fine.
The Boogeyman is a Stephen King film. I don't think it's probably not the first time they've made a Stephen King Boogeyman, but 2nd of June, directed by Rob Savage and starring Sophie Thatcher, Chris Messina, David Dastal. How do you say
Use
that?
your words.
Dastmalchian? Dastmalchian?
Use your words.
Yeah.
Looks really fucking good.
Dastmalchian.
Yeah. I don't know where he comes from to know where the inflection might be there, but I don't care enough to look it up. Looks good.
It's got young Leia in it.
It
Yeah,
does.
it does. Yeah,
it does.
Little Leia.
And
Little
he was
Leia slightly grown up.
He was Polka
She's
Dot
still
Man,
pretty.
and
That's right. He was.
he was Polka Dot Man, and one of the Ant-Man friends, criminal friends,
Who are you talking about?
David Dastmalchian.
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
he's been
we
a
saw
bunch
this.
of stuff.
We saw this trailer at the cinema last night in front of Evil Dead. It looks fine. I said to Louise, it's probably just going to be a by the numbers.
I think the best thing
Monster
for it for
movie
me
kind
was
of thing.
seeing
But it's
was
a
seeing
King
young
film,
Leia in
so
it.
Yeah. We'll wait and see. We'll reserve judgment on that one.
And David Dastmalchian has been in fucking everything. Dark Knight,
Yeah.
Dune,
yeah,
Suicide
heaps of
Squad,
shit.
obviously. He was also in The Flash. He was Abracadabra in the CW Flash series for a while. He was in the MacGyver reboot. So
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he's in that bag just behind me as well. He's just Polka Dot Man. Yeah.
yeah. Do you want to move on?
Yeah.
The Last Voyage of the Demeter. You put us onto this one, Dan.
I hate this film. I hate this film. They killed the dog in the trailer.
They
Fuck 'em.
killed the dog. Yeah, I almost put a spoiler when I put the thing in there. Sorry, Tom, the dog dies.
Nah. Absolute grubs. They're the worst. They should really consider themselves like jumping into the river themselves and tying concrete blocks to their ankles. It's a weak storytelling element. Stop killing dogs.
Last Voyage of the Demeter. The Demeter is the ship that brings Dracula from Eastern Europe to the
Is
United
it a tie
Kingdom.
into the other
It
stories?
very much looks like that it could be like
No,
set
I
in Bram Stoker.
like this was actually not just in the film, like a film universe, but actually thinking about like the stories, like the books.
Yeah.
Do they mention this as okay, cool.
Yeah, well, the Demeter is the name of the ship that brings Dracula from.
I mean that's cool, but they're still dogs and they should die.
And the bat version, and this is all from the trailer, so there's no spoilers here. The bat version of Dracula, and they name him Dracula. In this trailer, looks like it's straight out of Francis Ford Coppola's Bram Stoker's Dracula. That
fucking
got made
does,
in like
doesn't it?
96.
Yeah.
So
Also, how good is it that they made what's that actor's name? The boat captain. From Game of Thrones, like they made him the boat captain again.
He's got such a distinctive fucking voice, that guy too.
Liam Cunningham. Voice. Liam Cunningham is Captain Elliot. So they made him the boat captain again. It's just like, that is your typecast for the end of time, buddy. Sorry.
Well, he was more than a boat captain in Game of Thrones. He was quite an important character in Game of Thrones all the way through.
Did he die?
He had one hand. No, I don't remember him dying.
He's definitely going to die in this.
He took the dwarf off to Stone Place.
Oh, is that guy? Yeah. Okay.
He became Khaleesi's. He was Davos Seaworth, which is also a great captain's name and much better than whatever they call it.
But yes, it's just a middle story Dracula story. It's not an origin story. It's not a nothing. No. It's something happens in the time that Dracula exists. And spoilers for the movie, he doesn't die at the end because it's only about halfway through the book. Actually, it's not even halfway through the book. It's about a third of the way through the book. So they're sticking to that timeline. He gets all the way to England and finishes off his story there. Next, talk to me.
And I'm sure he had one hand, or he had the stone skin disease in one of his hands, didn't he? Davos?
Game of Thrones, Pete. I didn't pay attention.
It's pulling at my memory, but I'm not going to. Okay, I'm going to let it drop. Talk to me. Yes, I look. I picked this out mainly because it's been a long fucking time. As in, I can't remember the last time I saw an Australian movie trailer that actually appealed to me. But this is a horror film directed by Danny and Michael Philippou, starring Sophie Wilde, Joe Bird, Alexandra Jensen. Like, we're going to know who the fuck they are because they're not Hollywood people. But it looks like an interesting take on the Ouija board, kind of traditional Ouija board storyline. They open the door between our universe and the other side, and they thought they closed it, but they didn't. And it actually does look genuinely creepy. Bit of Eshe fucking Aussie accent in there, kind of is going to probably bug me for a little while. But it also didn't look too thick and put on, which I think a lot of Australian cinema suffers from. We end up trying to be too Australian and trying to be very loudly not Hollywood that no one wants to fucking watch the movie. So
Yes.
This one seemed like a good balance. I'm going to watch it. It looked interesting.
Yep, I'll watch it. Me and Louise will watch it. Sure.
No.
Tom's not going to watch it.
No, I was
wait a
focused
minute,
on Game of Thrones. Liam Cunningham's Davos Seaworth, he was best friends with the Island King's daughter who had stone skin.
That's right. That's right. The Onion Knight. Thank you. Okay, that was going to bug me. Thank you.
You're welcome. I was just saying, it's just like this is one of the first Australian films in a long time that it's a bit of a character flaw for Australian films, which I feel is maybe an industry thing they need to focus on. But it's looking at that trailer versus the Dracula, the last Voyage of the Demeter trailer. Like the way they're cut are just they're chalk and cheese.
It's almost too parochial.
It's so different, and like to the point where like I don't really want to I'm not drawn by that last Voyage of Demeter. I'll probably watch it because it's good actors in it. But it's like I'm not drawn by it, except like the trailer was very well cut. When I look at this Australian film, I'm just like, oh, this just looks like another student film. And that's maybe like an advertising thing on the Australian film department. Like maybe they need to learn to cut their trailers better to grab people more. But it didn't grab me in the same way that
because all the good Australian editing studios are currently being rented out 100% by Hollywood.
Probably, yeah.
That is literally what I mean. Fuck, our film industry in Australia is basically Hollywood's enslaved to Hollywood.
Yeah,
they film here, they edit here, they do all the 3D graphics here now.
Because we're cheap,
and we're good at what we do.
Well, there's that too, but yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just like it's unfortunate that like an Australian-born film doesn't get to use
benefit from that skill.
Way. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, that's what I'm more saying. Yeah.
Final trailer.
Last one.
Yeah, American-born Chinese. This one slipped under my radar. I'm sure it's not the first time it's been trailered, but I haven't seen anything.
No, I think it actually is.
It's due out in a month and a day, 24th of May on Disney Plus. It's based on a graphic novel by Jean Luen Yang. And that graphic novel looks like it's heavily stolen from, the story of Monkey, or the Monkey King. So Monkey Magic was based on a traditional folk story, a Tibetan folk story.
Monkey Magic is the perfect example of a multicultural endeavor, because it was Japanese artists telling a Chinese story filmed by the BBC shown in Australia.
Yeah.
Beautiful. It's beautiful.
The nature of monkey is irrepressible. One of my all-time favorite TV series growing up. So American-born Chinese, it has pretty much most of the cast from Everything Everywhere All at Once. So Michelle Yeoh, Ki Hui Kwang, James Hong, he's in everything. Jimmy O Yang,
Stephanie Hu.
Yep.
She was the daughter.
Jimmy O Yang, who some of us, I think I've asked this question before and you guys haven't really watched it, seen him before. He's in Crazy Rich Asians, but he was also the intern in...
Yeah, I know him. Yeah.
Fuck, what's the name of the TV series about Silicon Valley? It's called Silicon Valley. Yeah, thanks, Pete. Yeah, he was in Silicon Valley.
Well done.
Yeah.
He's been in a bunch of shit, yeah.
Yeah. So it looks like a good, fun Asian American TV series. It's about
it does seem like from that trailer, it does seem like a modern day retelling of the Monkey King story.
yeah, and it's modernized. It's not attempting to retell the story. It's attempting to add a new spin to it, which I think is cool. So a Chinese American boy is kind of a bit of a loner in school because he's the only Asian kid in the school, and then another Asian kid joins the school, and in a very racist way, the principal says, "Oh, look, you're Chinese, he's Chinese, you guys can hang out." And it turns out that the second kid is not from this plane or this reality or this realm.
I'm pretty sure the second kid is the Monkey King.
I'm pretty sure you're right.
Yeah, that's what the
and
trailer
the
says.
guy and the guy, I got the idea that the guy in the school was.
He was the Monkey King sent back in a body, and Michelle Yeoh seems to be the character that can traverse both planes at will because, let's be honest, Michelle Yeoh can probably transcend both planes at will. She's that good.
I want to know if that's the same name of the original Monkey Magic, but it's hard to find the original series because there's been so many fucking remakes. Monkey, Sandy, Trippy Taka. What was the androgynous?
Pigsy.
And Pigsy.
Pigsy, no lazy swine. Give Pigsy a hug.
Tripitaka was the monk.
Yeah.
Oh, it was Tripitaka. Okay.
Tripitaka was the monk, but that was also
The
played by
androgynous monk.
a female actress
playing
a male monk. Yeah.
Yeah, which is why it was always ambiguous as to their gender. But that was by design because it was also a representation of the Buddha god. Yeah.
My cloud. Remember when he drilled through the mountain with his staff? What a great episode. Let's do it. Next episode, we're doing a deep dive into Monkey Magic. We're going to watch the whole series in the next 2 weeks.
I think there was a lot of them, dude.
That might send us slightly insane, I think.
No, there's only like 2 series. There's only like two seasons. And it's all, I'm pretty sure it's all
2 episodes, my friend.
I'll watch it.
Yeah.
Send me down that rabbit hole.
Shall we move on to fourth beers?
I've got to go and rinse my glass.
Okay. Will you do that while we stall? Because I also have to get another beer.
Oh, I've still got my beer, so I can sing the Monkey Magic song while you guys do that.
Monkey Magic.
Born from an egg on a mountaintop. Monkey is funky, he'll never stop. He use all the magic under the sun. Something, 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 have some fun. Oh, Monkey Magic, Monkey Magic. Monkey Magic, Monkey Magic. Ooh, what a great TV show! I think we should bring it back. I'm disappointed that studios have not done a Monkey Magic rebrand yet. Is anyone else back in this studio yet? Because I'm running out of things to say.
Yes, that was entertaining.
My stuff.
I had I don't remember what it was from. I think it was would have been a Micro Machine or something like that. But it was from a plane. It was a little plastic
Transformer.
It was a little clear plastic rod with a ball on either side, and it plugged into like a socket, and then it plugged into a Micro Machine, like an aeroplane Micro Machine. And because I was so obsessed with Monkey Magic, and I probably was 8 or 7, I used to put it behind my ear like he did his staff when it was tied up.
Greatest thing ever. Yeah.
It was such a good series. It was
one of the favorite. Actually, if we're going to talk about childhood toys, we're going to do this as a divergent for a second. We'll wait for Dan to come back. I had one of the greatest toys growing up, and it was, I'm going to say stolen from me. Let's say stolen. I was actually just hoodwinked by an older friend. So I used to go to a family friend of ours for daycare when I was younger because I was a rapscallion who could not be left alone while mum worked because I would destroy the house. But
like
I had
bad
this
dog,
basically. But this was one of the greatest figures that I've ever had, and it was Inspector Gadget's car. But when you flipped it over, the passenger section popped up, and then it was Dr. Claw's car. So no matter which way you flipped it, it would move as like a Hot Wheels car. But if you flipped it around, you'd be like Inspector Gadget car. You flipped around, and, now I'm Dr. Claw. And then I got kind of hoodwinked out of it, and I've never forgiven myself. And this is actually the this is the start of my therapy journey. Is me just never forgiving myself for that. But yeah. Anyway, Dan's back. Let's not talk about my trauma.
Okay.
How did we get on to Inspector Gadget's car?
We were just killing time. I mean,
I
both
sung,
you and I
sung
left.
the Monkey Magic song for a good minute, and everyone else left.
Yeah. So
you did a time filler while Pete went as well, did you?
Yep.
Okay.
I was back well before I turned my video on. I just wanted to see what happens when he ran out of song.
Oh, that's right. I'm looking forward to Pete sending that short.
Yeah, that should actually be the next short. It's just me singing to a blank screen.
Yeah, pretty much. Cool. Who wants to go first?
Not me. I was busy singing
I'll go
songs. I
first.
haven't finished my beer.
You go first.
I'll go first. So I'm drinking. Oh my lord!
I was drinking.
Oh, that is
drinking.
That is a strange experience. Hop Nation Zombie Pop.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if you can see that. Oh,
Yes.
how good is that autofocus?
Yes. Part 4.
Yes, part 4. Fuck,
Why is
I'm
it part
impressed.
4?
You could read that. Yeah, Pineapple Imperial Sour Beer. It's not often I drink an
Where
Imperial
did you pick that up, Peter?
Sour. I believe I picked it up from the local drinks collective, Tom.
Oh, I believe someone teabagged that then.
Oh, good. Oh, tasted a bit weird.
Never.
That's that extra zing.
You want zest? I'll give you zest.
Fucking 8%. 8%
How good.
sour. It's a limited release. Bright, vibrant, tropical, sweet, and tart. Part 4 of our Zombie Pop series has arrived to fuel your fight against the hordes of flesh eaters. Although the zombie apocalypse is far from over, this Pineapple Imperial Sour can be your momentary oasis. Gotta say, it's...
I would not fight a zombie apocalypse with an 8% beer under my belt.
But it would feel so much more winnable after a couple of them. It's exactly as advertised. It is super pineapple juice and like almost pineapple chunks because it's got that acidity that you get out of chunks of pineapple as well as the sweetness. The alcohol is completely and utterly like absent. I'm very impressed for an 8% ABV to be completely hidden by those flavors. That is a cracking beer. It's not what you expect when you first taste it. You go, "Oh, is something wrong with that beer?" Because it is such a strong pineapple, like fresh pineapple flesh. It's not what I expected to taste in a beer, but I'm very impressed. I'm going to give that a fucking 5.
Whoa!
Yeah.
Holy shit!
Wow.
That's as good as it gets for me on a sour beer. It's not overly.
The nature of monkey is irrepressible, and it is that beer.
It's exactly the right level of tartness. And it's got that sweet complexity
great.
to it. It's obviously a kettle sour, or maybe it's a mash sour. I don't know, but it's the same thing.
It's obviously a kettle sour, or maybe it's a mash
It's not
sour.
the same
I
thing.
don't know.
Same thing.
It's not the same thing.
Sorry, I'm just laughing at the sheer determination in knowing.
But then I second guess myself. That's the problem.
Flipping on it.
That's the problem. I second guess myself as soon as the words come out of my mouth. I'm like, I'm the least knowledgeable on this fucking podcast when it comes to beer.
Good.
I'm pretty sure it's a kettle sour though, just based on the level of acidity. Cracking. Very fucking happy.
No, it's a sour. It's not a rum.
What have you got in your mouth?
Oh, it's half of Geralt's sword. It's on your chew toy.
Oh, don't do that. You're about to epoxy it back on.
Not anymore. It's not going to fucking.
The epoxy tastes good.
What are you drinking, Tom, before you chew through another fucking toy?
I am drinking Dimension X. Pow, 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 pow. It's a mountain culture Nipah. So, yeah, that's I'm done. Sweet. Good chat. Well done, everyone. That was a good review.
Sorry to interrupt. Did someone take the Guardians of the Galaxy final trailer out of the trailer list, or did we skip it? It was in there.
It's not in there now.
I did
Looking
not.
at the screen. Wasn't me.
Huh?
It
Okay.
was not me.
We did get. You just
Maybe
reminded
Ash
me.
did
Thanks, Dan. We got the final Guardians of the Galaxy 3 trailer, and it was.
I've actually been really annoyed with the media for Volume 3 because I love the Guardians of the Galaxy story. I love the characters. Having read all the comics and stuff, But they've been showing too many scenes on social media recently, and I'm like, oh, that's not like. Can you?
There's
off?
even a scene where he drops the F-bomb, and I'm
in
pretty
the car.
sure
I saw that.
Pretty sure that's going in the movie. It's going to be the very first MCU F-bomb. But this particular trailer was quite short, but it's obviously the final trailer because it's out in cinemas next week or the week after.
May 4th.
Oh, there you go. May 4th.
How dare they?
I know.
How dare they sacrilege a sacred day like May 4th?
But
they own the franchise.
Yeah. So they're fucking themselves.
But
this particular trailer was quite brief, but it was the sexy voice acted fucking trailer. Coming to a cinema near you soon. Guardians 3. And it just didn't need one. It didn't need one of those kinds of trailers.
No, absolutely not.
Anyway. Sorry. Back to your Mountain Culture, Dimension X.
Dimension X. Oh, actually, it has one of the best blurbs I've read in a long time. And this is not surprising knowing the Mountain Culture guys because they're all absolute fucking lunatics. Who else remembers being able to rattle off 4 Italian Renaissance artists' names so easily that their art teacher was blown away and thought you must have come from a very cultured family, when really it was just that you were allowed to watch Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles after school? Yeah, us too. This beer, an ode to TMNT, combines Centennial, Cashmere, and Cascade hops to produce big aromas of fresh melon, orange, and lime. The subtle, juicy, tropical notes come from the late addition of Citra hops, allowing for safe passage back to Dimension Earth. Really glad they added an extra hop in before the end of that sentence because I was getting really ticked off that the fact they only mentioned 3 hops. Yeah, that really pissed me off halfway through because I hadn't read the full thing. And this is why you proofread things, everyone. That's a very good lesson in this. It is a Mountain Culture NEPA. It is Peter, for your records, it is 6.8%.
Mm-hmm.
I know. Very tame. Very tame for the old boy, isn't it?
And Mountain Culture has gone out on a limb and produced a NEPA. I wrote that down too. Very unusual
Holy
style.
Shit, is that what that is?
That brewery,
yeah. God. I thought they'd invented a new style. Yeah, cop that, you dogs. Yeah, look, it's Mountain Culture NEPA. Yeah, 4.5 stars.
It's kind of at that point, though, isn't it?
Yeah, literally, it is. It's
they
a little,
do it
it's a little
well
bit of a shame.
every time, and
it's the same as that range pale before. It's such a well-made beer. Like it's such a good beer, but like it's not adventurous.
But if you took any 5 Mountain Culture NEPAs in roughly the same ABV and blind taste tested them, I guarantee you wouldn't be able to put them back in the cans that they came from. I just don't think there's enough variance.
Yeah, unless they were the ones that they added oat cream to, because then you can definitely tell.
Yeah,
because you are shitting yourself.
Yeah,
when it's oat cream. Yeah.
Aside from the obvious, but I mean, they pump out that many NEPAs that
it's just an experiment. I honestly think with those breweries, it's just an experiment in how many ways you can pump out an IPA with those hop combinations. Like it's almost like a game of Tetris. It's like, how can you get that straight line with those different blocks?
So Dan, wouldn't you get bored if all you made were NEPAs? Variations on the same theme?
Depends on how much you're doing. Mountain Culture's doing a shitload. So, but I mean.
Well, if you think about music and you think about like classical composers, which I often do, and you think about like, especially a lot of the Russian composers, they all did themes on the variation of a major or minor chord.
Yeah, but they were hunting for something.
But I think that's the same thing. I think that's the same thing they're trying to do. They're hunting for that variation on C major or whatever it is. Like that's the kind of thing they're trying to do. And like that's a props to them. It's just if they hit it every time, not necessarily. But you know, you listen to every sonata, and you're like, oh yeah, that's okay. Like, yeah, I think it's still a way to. I think it's admirable in the way that it's if you think about it that way of like if you're trying to get variations on a theme constantly, I think that's something to aspire to. And it's definitely like if you think about hop as like a live, like especially in brewing, like as a live character, in how you can get those different flavor things out of them. I think there are very many ways you can do that. I think the thing to look for is whether breweries like these guys who rely on those hype releases actually do that, or if they go, oh, we know we can just chuck a buttload of Citra in this and just like get it out the door kind of thing. I don't think Mountain Culture are to that stage yet where they're going to like fake it till they make it. I think they're actually interested. They're interested enough in the way that those hops, and going back to the music thing, like the way those hops sing, like the way they sing in different like mashups and characteristics like that talk to each other and whatever, to the point where they are doing that. But yeah, I mean, that's just me.
Fair enough.
It's still a cracking fucking NEPA. Like, you can't deny that Mountain Culture are the kings of the New England IPA.
Absolutely.
In Australia, yeah.
Absolutely.
There is no denying that. It's whether they now rest on their laurels. I think that's the big test
I want to see them
forward.
branch out. I mean, I know they have made other beers. Don't misunderstand what I'm saying.
They made some beautiful imperial stouts.
Yeah, they don't do enough of those, in my opinion.
They also royally fucked a porter. I don't know if I talked about it on this. I think I talked about it with you, Dan.
No, you haven't. You haven't talked about it on the podcast.
They did a porter where they used Sabro, and it basically tasted like a 440ml can of Jägermeister.
Yeah.
To the point where I had flashbacks and cried.
Yeah. They've got an amazingly high average rating of 4.08 across.
Oh yeah, because they're the golden boys. Yeah,
yeah, almost 173,000 reviews. A 4.08
if you rate a
Mountain
Culture
Culture
beer low, you are pissing off the beer community. Like,
yeah.
So I'm there, full armor, wading into CBC, being like, "Yeah, this Mountain Culture was 1 out of 10." They're like, "Fucking come on!" I'm like, "Yeah, let's go."
Dan, what are you drinking, mate?
I'm drinking another Bacchus one. I've been sitting here thinking it the whole time that you guys have been chirping on.
Sorry, we get a bit carried away.
No,
us rowdy teenagers.
No. It, like I said, it's given me time to think about it.
I was giving valuable discourse that you should probably have been paying attention to.
I was definitely paying attention to. I was 100% paying attention.
Motherfucker!
I was 80% paying attention. I was 20% thinking about this.
As
this
you
is
should be.
Gran Churrismo.
That's Sony's like trademark people are like knocking on Bacchus's door right now.
Oh, we should talk about that next episode. What Nintendo's doing to a couple of channels around Breath of the Wild at the moment. Anyway, carry on.
This is a churros pastry stout. It's 10%. Just the ingredients on it. I'm not going to read the blurb. I probably
Can you hold up the can, please, Dan?
Why is that?
Just because yours.
Can you read it?
Yours says 10.5, and you just said 10, doesn't it?
Didn't I say 10.5?
No, I said 10. Anyway,
it doesn't matter. That when you get to 10, that 0.5 doesn't make a difference.
No, I'm just making sure I'm looking at the right entry because it was brewed last year for the Advent calendar.
Doesn't matter. When you're talking about your 1%, that 0.5 means you probably can't drive. When you're talking about 10 and that 0.5, doesn't fucking make a difference.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's water, barley, oats, lactose, rye, spices, cinnamon, chocolate, hops, and yeast. It's definitely got a real biscuity aroma to it. That malty biscuity side of it is really good. Like, it actually really smells like a churro. And I love churros. I love that savory, sweet side of it, and salted caramel is fantastic. But I actually think this is too sweet. I like the malt roundness and the chocolate and the spices and everything they've got to it, but I think what actually spoils it is that sweetness. If they like, churros are definitely sweet to an extent, but
no, they're super sweet.
But it's from the cinnamon sugar, not the dough. The dough itself isn't sweet. So once you bite,
it's hard to differentiate the cinnamon sugar from the dough.
I disagree. Cinnamon sugar dissolves really quickly on the tongue, and then you're left with the dough. And the dough is quite savory. It's cooked in oil. It's deep fried. It's
The Laos hate the sugar syrup, delousing. Sorry, it's where my brain goes every time.
It's a little bit astringent as well, but I don't mind that. But it's the more it warms up, is the better it is. And 10.5%, geez, it's quite dangerous. But I'm sure the sugar's hiding a lot of that as well.
Like a churros, it's better than when it warms up.
It's better than when it warms up. Yes, definitely better when it's warm. And I think it might actually be not quite. This has been sitting on my desk since we did the first one, so it's actually had 35, 40 minutes to warm up. So I think this is the perfect temperature to drink this. I do enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
I'd probably drink it again.
But you're only going to give it a 3.75, aren't you?
Yeah, probably. I don't know. There just feels like something. The sweetness is overpowering it just on the back palate, distracting it just at the end though. The rest of it, the aroma is fantastic. The combination of all those things they put together is really, really well done. I probably would have liked to have seen it heavier on the body side of it, like the malt sweetness side of it, rather than the addition of lactose. But I'm a little bit big on that these days. I think the additions of lactose are a little bit of a cop-out these days when it can just be achieved through malt sweetness rather than that lactose addition. And I think that's the only thing I'd mark it down on. But I would definitely buy this again and happily drink it again. It's quite nice and quite unique, and actually really think it hits the profile they're going for.
Yeah, cool.
Just
out of 5?
Not completely executed the way that it potentially should be. Yeah, 3.75. Yeah.
Okay. That was just a guess, that's all. Cool. Dan, do you want to introduce this spotlight? Because this is the second week in a row, or second podcast in a row that it was your idea.
Yeah, I know. I'm a little confused on this now, so my brain's a little bit fried now.
I think we're all a little confused on this, to be honest. But
do you want me to explain what started this conversation?
I actually think this conversation would benefit from Pete's initial rant, whatever.
Well, why don't I introduce it and then Pete can go to his rant?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, so we were going to do. I forget what you mentioned, Pete, but whatever you mentioned, me and Tom poo-pooed it pretty quick, and shot you down. I forget
games where you're forced to take actions that you fundamentally disagreed with, in terms of your interpretation of that character's personality.
Okay. Yep. So that's where that came from, and we couldn't really think of anything else that went from that. So I was thinking about it at work while I was going along, and what I came up with was the association with written scripted voice characters versus non-scripted voice characters, or even just scripted voiceless characters. It's kind of been it's kind of a convoluted kind of thing, but it all came from
It's a tricky thing you have to navigate.
It all came from your thoughts on the choices you were made to make as Ellie in The Last of Us 2. Yep. And then obviously we spoke about this a little just beforehand. Then not conflicting, but I guess juxtaposed against the choice you have to make as Joel at the end of the first Last of Us, and how you didn't agree
controversial. So Joel's decision at the end of Last of Us 1, which I think we can well and truly spoil now because the game's been out for 100 years and the TV series has now been done for about.
What are that on? They're like the 5th iteration of the game or something.
Yeah, and they're still charging $120. So Joel making the decision to sacrifice all of humanity to keep his surrogate daughter alive, right, was a controversial decision, and yet in the context of the game and what led up to that point, it felt right. You knew that was what was going to happen. You had a feeling.
Well, it's the decision you probably would have made yourself.
Yeah, to be the selfish bastard essentially, and not put too much thought into it, and that's him. A lot of it. We've lost Dan for a second. A lot of it. He's back. It's all good. It's all seamless. you knew what was going to happen. You knew that if he was faced with that choice, you knew what choice he was going to make. So where I got stuck was Ellie at the end of The Last of Us 2. And
you said very, very openly that you were conflicted by the way that Ellie acted through the end of Last of Us 2.
Yeah. What was the shrug for, Dan? I'm assuming he's got no audio. He can probably hear us, but he can't talk to us.
Probably for the best.
We'll see what he's about to message us. I can see him typing, and we may take a quick break if we need to do a reset. But this is where I will probably end up calling the episode Cognitive Dissonance because it's such a perfect description for what I went through when I was playing through the end of Last of Us 2.
Well, you've already decided that, so yeah, sure.
And
that's
hey, I don't get to exercise veto rights much anymore. So it's not the right thing to do.
It sounds like he did. They just said, yeah, so it's fine.
But it is exactly, it perfectly describes what I went through at the end of Last of Us 2. It's a mental conflict that occurs when your beliefs don't line up with your actions. So you kind of have an uncomfortable state of mind where, that's essentially, Dan's dropped out. All right, we'll take a quick break. We'll be back in a sec.
Hey, hey.
So we're back. Cognitive dissonance. That's. So look, I don't want to spoil it too badly, so I'm going to try and speak cryptically while making some fucking sense because Last of Us 2 has been out for 4 years, 3 years,
3 years now.
It's not a new game.
Ellie, I think it's just come into the spotlight again enough with the series.
It has,
that I think you're right in not
completely spoiling it.
Ellie obviously have disagreed with this in our chats. I'm like, fuck it, it's been long enough. But then obviously,
but people are going to watch season 2 and season 3 of the TV series, and some people are going to go in not knowing.
Okay.
And as a result of season 1 of the TV series, a lot of people have started playing the first game and won't have gotten to episode 2.
You are right in saying that, but I think
I would love to just spoil it.
I also just think as well, like without looking into it, because I know we definitely didn't. I've probably already spoiled this game for our listeners, like well before.
maybe. But look, at the end of the game, Ellie is doggedly pursuing a path of a course of action that is so obviously self-destructive and so like when I say so obviously, like she has lived and breathed the result of the bad decision that she's in the process of making.
You have no other way of resolving this path except a path of self-destruction.
Yeah, and it like I really struggled because you don't have any choice. If you want to finish the game, if you want to get to the final cutscene, you must execute her actions the way that the game has scripted you to execute them. And I was pressing buttons physically, like talking to the screen, like, what the fuck are you doing, Ellie? You're an idiot. Are you that fucking stupid? You have to be fucking stupid to be doing this. Like, just let it go.
But I know I've said that to friends, and then like not in the same situation of like murdering people straight outright, but like and thinking about the way they've chosen to go through certain decisions, it's like, I can see every other option that you can't. It's just it is one of those things that like when you are in that tunnel zone, and I think that was the whole thing.
She did experience it. She actually literally experienced the alternatives.
Yeah, but sometimes when you're just too far gone, like.
But I
get what they were trying to do, but I again agree with you in terms of like it just felt a bit dumb.
Yes, hopefully this is an interesting conversation without any context, Dan.
I was just about to say we need to move this along because this is far too
it's not cryptic enough anymore.
Non-specific to be interesting. Continuing.
Okay.
If you have no fucking idea what you're talking about,
I will drop out then. I'm
gonna have to jump off in a couple of minutes anyway, and you guys are gonna have to continue the conversation without me for 10 minutes. But I just look. The point is, cognitive dissonance. It was just I was being rewarded for taking actions that I fundamentally disagreed with, and it made me really uncomfortable. And so that's what started this conversation.
Yes, that is what.
So I think that's not a bad one to move on to next. Tom, you're on the list. You've got Republic Commando there.
So now I actually think that I've the way I've taken the conversation is different from what you guys have taken the conversation, which is really annoying. Because the way we initially talked about it with and Pete and Cognitive Dissonance was very interesting, but obviously we were struggling to find other scenarios to talk about it with. But I've actually gone very literal and talked in my mind about like, I think I've just said there, like it's scripted and written characters, but I'm thinking like voice characters versus silent characters and how that. So that's not too literal. Okay, cool.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
And I'll be back.
Excellent.
I'm just going to take this call.
Yep.
Bye, Pete. Because I think the biggest one for me, well, I tried to break it down for anyone who wants to see our show notes. So I tried to break it down for me of voice examples being good, bad, and then silent voice characters being good and then bad. And then the biggest thing for me in thinking about this, which I think is probably the way to start this, is actually thinking about it like, how does it affect you first person point of view versus third player point of view?
Okay.
So I think that really is a massive effect for me in how I'm going to relate to a character. So I think about like, obviously one that came up was like, we've all played Skyrim. Like we think about how we portrayed our characters onto the character models we created in Skyrim.
Yes.
But if they had that like generic voice responses, or if they were dead silent, like say like Link from Ocarina of Time, I am, no matter what the game style, I'm obviously feel like I'm going to relate more to a character if it is a slate that I'm putting my voice in, and they have no text, no voice, nothing in terms of like I'm thinking of the responses they ask to questions.
And this is exactly the conversation I was aiming for, because I actually feel quite the opposite.
Which is very, very interesting, because I saw an article from a game reviewer, which is about 4 years old, and he said that people who do silent voice actors are absolute cowards because it's bad storytelling. And I'm actually kind of inclined to agree with him, except for the fact that I really like when I can put my voice into a character. So I'm really torn on this fence of things. So maybe you should jump in and say how you feel about it. Like,
yeah. So I'm actually quite the opposite on that. And the thing that I keep coming back to is Christian Slater at the start of Interview with the Vampire, when he's talking to Louis and he's talking to him about what he does. He's says he's got a bag full of tape because he's a collector of stories. And I think that's what I like. Like, I love Skyrim. I like Fallout. I've never finished a Fallout game, but I like Fallout. But I really love Skyrim and that whole world, and sort of being able to follow your own path within a narrative kind of thing. But I love stories. I love being told a story, and if you're going to give me options to interact and guide that story, it means even more to me. So it's really interesting. You've got Republic Commando. I'm not sure whether you put the Batman on the next line or whether Pete added that in.
But everything under that heading title is me.
Okay, so I think the Republic Commando is actually a really interesting one, because it's so well written within 4 characters within that game. Like, you're only in control of one, but you're in command of 3 others. And the chatter between the brothers and
this is what I was getting to in that point, is it's well scripted characters versus really bad scripted characters. And I'm talking about, so in my list I had Joel from Last of Us, and then I had Republic Commando, and then I had existing characters from other media, and I said Batman, etc. And that was more about, like, if you think about Batman games and really well done Batman games, they are basically pulling from the comics.
Yes.
So
which is a plethora of writers. Like, it's not,
Yeah, and it comes back to that whole thing of, like, who are your writers? Are you writing just stories, or are you writing a script? Because they're obviously very different things. And how well they interact. And so, like, I think about like, especially Batman. Batman's probably the perfect example because you think about some of the greatest Batman comics we've read, stories, whatever, graphic novels, whatever it is. But then would that translate to a video game? Or if you think about video games that have tried to translate a Batman game into that and how they failed, like that's where I took this whole subject of like that's the thing, because I think of like, I don't, obviously because he's just passed away, but it's just like you think about Kevin Conroy, like, and you think about the way he voiced Batman and the way he delivered a Batman story through that voice. But also I think about like Arkham City was a good game. It was a good game. I actually think I preferred Arkham Knight, but everyone, no matter who it is, preferred Arkham Asylum.
I have a very strong emotional attachment to Arkham Asylum, but I actually agree. I think Arkham Knight is probably is penultimate.
But it's how you tell. But that's the thing. It's just like you like, and especially thinking about that character, and then this is where I was going with it. Like you're voicing that character through those stories. So like I use those stories as a basis.
Yeah,
and then you go to like 1 was pretty good, 2 was a bit too like hero focused, and then 3 was kind of like, oh no, this is actually a Batman story kind of thing.
Yeah. And quite personal as well, because you are literally in Bruce's head. Yeah. When you're seeing the Joker in those apparitions. So you're not just controlling a character and his actions, you're actually sharing within the emotional, internal, mental struggle that he's having with a personified alter ego stuck in there.
Yeah.
Not just something that they're trying to portray through his actions or words. They're actually the Joker on screen as a alternate persona in that. So, no, I agree. I think Arkham Knight is a fantastically well-written and scripted Batman story. And the actions that they... So going to what Pete's saying, like there's... Yeah. I'm going to spoil Arkham Knight. If you haven't played Arkham Knight, it's a very old game, so be it. There's action...
8 years old. 8 years old.
When you're moving those canisters within the chemical within Ace Chemicals, and it all explodes.
Which is also very early on in the game.
It is very early on in the game. You know he's going to survive because there's more of a game. You don't know whether it's going to be a flashback when you're first playing it, and this is going to be the end or not. But you're like, he's on the phone to Alfred as he's moving all these things, and Alfred is pleading with him to stop doing it. And while Alfred's pleading through the voice and what you're listening to, but you're walking as Batman, slowly moving these canisters, because if you move too fast, they're going to explode. And you have to install them, and you do sort of 4 or 5 of these, and the Joker's there and Alfred's there, and it's this huge emotional, and Bruce says goodbye. And it's the could potentially be the end to this 3-game saga that you've just played through. And that comes through the scripting, the writing, the directing, and Kevin Conroy's of music. Yeah, massive one on music. But Kevin Conroy's brilliant portrayal and performance. Like he knew that character so well by that time that he's just lending the emotional weight to what he's saying to make you keep doing what you're doing, even though you know that's the end.
But keep doing what you're doing and care.
And care.
I think that's an actual kicker for this scenario. Is like, especially when I think about some of the third-person games that push you into that first-person perspective. But because
well, that's a very interesting point, because that whole is that section in first person?
No, I think it's in third person.
It's still in third? Okay.
Yeah. But my whole thing was like, is this like a thing that like differentiates between third person and first person? But now actually, damn running that, I'm like, oh no, that was the third person perspective, but it was like completely draw me in. But then I think about like really intense third person moments where I'm just like, it's someone else's voice, but meant to be my hands. I'm like, oh, cool. I don't actually give a shit. Like, you know, if I'm diffusing this bomb and I fail this quick time activity, it's like, well, whatever. I'll just start over again. Like, yeah. I think that's a big addition to what we're talking about. And like that's the thing for me. Like when I first started to think about this, my first thing that came to my head was like, cool, we're talking first person or third person.
I didn't even think first or third, but yeah.
I think that's a massive factor in what we're talking about because it's like first person perspective. They're trying to put their whole thing is trying to put that in your hands. And some stories do it really well, and some stories do it really badly. Like, there's no two ways about it. Like, you either believe the story that's like meant to be in your hands, or you just go, cool, enter F to pay respects, whatever like the code command is. So like, yeah. So I think that was for me. That was the first thing. Like, really thinking about where, from me as perspective, this idea came from, and yeah, I actually think it's one of the bigger factors. I think having played a bunch of first person perspective, predominantly shooters, but like survival shooters. If you're ever going to call Far Cry something else, it's probably survival shooter. Despite the fact that you're always going to survive because that's the name of the story. But like thinking about it that way of like, and then hearing about people's reactions to Resident Evil, and it's like, it's when you just see hands, and that's the thing that like you have to heal. So like, in Far Cry, if I could talk about when Pete's not here, is like
pulling the bullets out and shit.
Pulling like slats of wood out of your hand. Like there's like a splinter. I'm not talking about a splinter. I'm talking about a chunk of wood. And you're like, like you look at it and you go, that's fucking gross. Like that would be like your hand would not be usable, but he just wraps it up and you go, okay, cool. Sweet. He can now go knife someone in the face. That's fine. Yeah, sure. That happens.
Well, that's that's the definition of what Pete's was talking about with cognitive dissonance is just
But then you have to go back to the actual storyline of like, if you don't look at the hands, then everything's like actually kind of quite a moving story. How well written it is up to debate. That's fine. But it's just like for general purposes, it is like it's a decent storyline, but like, it's just how much you empathize with that, and then just from the gameplay, and like the gameplay is a massive part of it. But then if it's gameplay that is first person perspective, is that hitting you more than gameplay that's a third person perspective? And I think that's a really interesting question. Like,
and what's your answer to that? Are you saying do you think the first person is more? Well, I mean, it is more immersive that people would say.
I think for me, and you may disagree, which is fine. And I think Pete probably, I actually think you both guys will get on the same plane with me. I really think that a first person perspective that is voiced by someone else is more dissonant than a first person perspective that you just run through, and like you, whether or not scripted or not, but you make the thoughts. Whereas going to a third person, because you're a bit taken aback from that character, you actually kind of want a voiced actor to give that character kind of meat to, like, that's the character like development you want to see. I think that's the big difference for us. I don't know about you.
So I've got two spanners to throw in the works there.
Chuck 'em. Chuck 'em, monkey man.
First person is the Doomslayer. Scripted but unvoiced. So, but through the skillful writing of just the actions that he does with just the hands. And I'm talking Doom 2016 and Doom Eternal. I know you haven't played through Eternal, but you do see the Doomslayer in cutscenes from externally, but you do walk through these scenes in Eternal where there's manned space stations with a whole bunch of scientists and console operators and that, and you walk in as the Doomslayer, and they're all at their consoles and they kind of they turn as you walk in, and they just the reactions, the animations on their faces, all like they will stop and like push their chairs back, and people guarding doors or move out of the way, and little things like that with a
reverence.
Definitely a reverence of this this Doomslayer that's coming through. 2016 Doom, you'd pull the upgrade off the droid and punch the droid and do a whole bunch of other things that you were only seeing these things. You'd see a foot every now and then when he would have to pull a weapon out of a dead body's hands, or a few bits and pieces. So I think that on the unvoiced but scripted first person side of things is quite connective to me, because they've painted this picture of the Doomslayer being the ultimate badass. He has no words written. It's literally just the actions that he does that point you through the story. And I think that's, you really at that point feel like the Doomslayer. Like they've given you such a good backing to get behind that. That's a fantastic unscripted, unvoiced first person. And then the original Dead Space and Isaac Clarke.
As you were saying,
Isaac Clarke was third person and unvoiced for all of the original Dead Space. And you would see him, and he did not have a voice, but the actions that you went through, and it was so well written and so well scripted for Isaac that he didn't need to say anything, because you were moving along this story, because the next thing that you had to do and the next thing that you had to get to was so well integrated into the story that they were telling that words weren't needed. So Isaac and the Doomslayer, like first and third person, both unscripted, both very different characters, but both portrayed in a way that you can relate to those characters.
Yeah, see, I just think straight back to Link from any of the Zelda games, but like he is purely unscripted, always has been, always will be. I think, and I think this is actually a very interesting point in like coming back to what you were talking about originally when you brought this up, and you were like, Tom's just seen the Mario movie, and like you're taking a character that was essentially unscripted and making him a voice character. But I mean, I don't know how many Mario games you've played in recent years, but then they've slowly grown a voice for him. Like, it doesn't matter who's doing it, but like whether it's just cheers and shouts and wahoos and
but that's it. It's not. I guess it is a personality to an extent, but it's not a.
But this is just to finish that. This is reflecting on, and like this is a Nintendo special, but like reflecting on Link, where still to this day you have fully voiced side characters, whether or not they have voices or you're reading text or whatever. But they turn to Link and they go, "What do you think?" And it's still just 3 dots. It's just 3 dots of nothing.
Yep.
And like, is that better than like a wahoo or like a jumping or like here we go, like, you know, as Mario's want to do? But like, I think that's probably the more interesting discussion of like where you take these characters, like in terms of voicing or not voicing. Like, do you take obviously the voice of Mario, not the Chris Pratt, because that's average at best, but like you take the traditional voice of Mario, like he's still voicing it like for recording studios. But then do you take the other guy and be like, hey man, do you want to voice Link? Like he's traditionally like a 3-dot character. Like it's just 3 dots of nothing. Like the other characters like push the narrative forward. And that's a big thing that I've seen is just like more and more writers for video games have just been like, cool, the voiceless protagonist, lazy writing.
Yeah, I think they're wrong. I think if it's done well is a very interesting point. And I mean, you talk about Link, like the game isn't even called Link. The game is called Zelda. Like Link gets no credit whatsoever. He doesn't even get a voice in any of the games. And it's incredible that I mean, you get the casual player or maybe some parents that have heard of Zelda and things like that have absolutely no idea after however many games that Link is his name. And that he's the person that you play.
He's
and
the hero of time.
Zelda is a side character,
Yeah.
or for most of the games. So yeah, it's funny you say that Link just replies with 3 dots. So he's Link's the Doomslayer of the Nintendo world. Somebody refers to him and he just looks at him with a steely glare.
The Link Slayer. Yes.
The Link Slayer. And
that is a character artwork that is forming in my mind.
Link pulling out the
super shotgun.
The
priests have hidden your super shotgun.
Yeah. So I think it's a big conversation, this one. I think we've covered it fairly well while Pete hasn't been around.
Yeah, I mean, I just think of like some really good characters that have been given voices that have been like okay, but then I just, and I wish I noted these down more, but I just really think of like bad characters that have been given good.
Yeah,
and like the first one that comes to mind, unfortunately, is like Destiny. Destiny took up a very fat chunk of my life, unfortunately. And I wish I could go back in time and stop that. But it had Dinklage as the voice of the ghost.
Yeah. Didn't they change that as well?
They did. They essentially fired him and recast him.
Fired him or couldn't afford him?
No, I think it was actually a firing because his portrayal of the character was very flat. Which is also another thing, like when you get celebrities in to do voices, like they just think they can just come in and just say whatever, but it's like, oh no, like you're flat as fuck. This is not interesting. So I think about like that all the time. We're like, yeah, but it's the same as the Mario movie. It's just like, would I bring in this A-star cast, or would I rather a cast of no ones who's going to come in and give it everything? But now I've got this like cast I've got to pay millions or whatever to do these voices, which they might do an okay job, but you know, there's no kind of guarantee because it's a different style of acting. Like,
and I'm sure this has been brought up through a lot of other people too, but it's a very interesting choice to take something like Mario and give them an all-star cast when the draw for most animated movies is the all-star cast doing the voice, but the draw for this movie is not the cast doing the voices. The draw for this movie is, hey, it's a fucking good Mario animated movie, and that's the thing that they should have lent into and spend a bit more thought and time doing. Spend your money on the casting agent to find the right person to do the voices.
I don't think they did at all. Yeah, which is unfortunate. But yeah, I don't think they did.
That's interesting. I'm really looking forward to seeing it and putting some of this thought behind it too. About, I mean,
it's definitely one of those films that I would just walk into the cinema tomorrow and watch again.
Yeah.
But like I said, it just brought me joy.
It'd be disappointing if they move forward with those choice in voice actors if they don't get a little bit more, maybe training. That's probably not the right word. It's probably a little bit arrogant of me to say those things to people that are probably very trained in their art form. But
they are trained in a different style of acting.
Yeah.
Voice acting is a different style of media.
Yes.
I think that's... And I think that's and I can be completely wrong on this, but I think that's also like a bit of an arrogant view that most actors have, where they're like, oh yeah, I can just slip into voice acting. It's like, no, you have to portray what you would do physically into your voice work. Like, I would personally, I would love to be a voice actor. I think it's fascinating work, like style of work. I think in terms of every acting I've ever been involved in, it's the one thing I would love to do. But I also know that like it would take so much work for me to become an established voice actor. Like I'm not gonna I would never half-ass it to be like, oh yeah, I can make it. It's like, as much as I would love to do it, and turn around tomorrow and be like, yes, I quit selling beer. I'm going to go be a voice actor for video games. Like, I couldn't turn it around overnight. It is an art that you have to perfect.
Yeah,
But
it
I think
is.
that's a big thing with, especially bringing any sign of like movie voice actor, and it's becoming worse and worse in the sense of like AAA games and like thinking about like. So I'm playing Forspoken at the moment, which is a Square Enix game. But the actors they've used for the voice actors were all part of like one of them is one of the voices in Fallen Order. There's one of the Battlefront 2. Like they're like quite established characters in like a bunch of the Star Wars games, and they would just like come across. And it's just like whether or not their faces are very similar, because they obviously base the models on the characters playing them, which is great. And also what these actors deserve. But it's like at the same time, it's just like, cool, you're now just acting the same as I saw you in, Fallen Order, or I saw you in Final Fantasy VII, or I saw you in this other game. And it's just kind of like, that's ruined the magic. Like,
and when you say things like that, it's a little bit like Nolan North versus Mark Hamill. I mean, you look at all the voices, the voice characters that Mark Hamill's done in animated and TV shows, in animated and video games and things like that. And then sometimes you go, holy shit, that was Mark Hamill? Like, that was the dude that does the Joker voice and this and that. But then you look at Nolan North, and you can pick Nolan North's voice a million miles away. He's like
100%, yeah.
The random thugs in Arkham Knight, and it's like bits and pieces. Like and this is throwing no shade at Nolan North. Like he's done a fantastic job, and I love him as Nathan Drake and a few of the other characters he's done. But he's very distinct in what he does, and then you get an incredible, nuanced voice actor like Mark Hamill that throws out these jokers. And I mean, there's the old LucasArts game Full Throttle. Mark Hamill does several voices within Full Throttle.
Yeah.
And none of them you would not pick them as Mark Hamill. Two, you would not pick them as the same actor within the same game. So I think it's very interesting when you get to the voice actors on that side of it. We're a million miles away from the original topic, but Pete's left us to our own devices, so
so it sucks to his asthma. Yeah, I mean, at the same time, I don't think we are, because I just think of like we've kind of covered for what I was thinking of it in terms of like, if you think about a voice actor and you think about the way they approach, I think it's definitely different when you cross those mediums. I think that's the biggest thing for what we were talking about, because like Pete's points were, he was talking about Ellie in Last of Us 2 and how that made him super uncomfortable.
Yeah,
but I think actually it's more interesting when you think of a voice actor coming across and doing a character, and as a result of that character making you uncomfortable. I think that's probably like, if you like initially go, fuck yeah, that's Mark Hamill doing a Joker voice. But then that Joker voice goes so creepy that you can't sit there and go like, I can't listen to that Joker talk about cutting that person's hands off. And you're like, wow, that's the better character development that I think that I would just assume that Pete was going for. We will never know, because he'll be on this work call forever, so we just get free reign. Yeah.
Well, I just want to. I mean, I'm going to get banned about talking about The Witcher very shortly, I imagine. But one of the thoughts that came through for me too was Geralt. Like, I love the voice actor for Geralt from all the way from the very first Witcher game all the way through. And I know you get to make choices for the outcome of how that world exists in your playthrough. So each individual person make different choices as you go through. There's limited choices that affect the world, but go from there. And I'm finally reading the final book, Lady of the Lake, and my attachment to Ciri through Geralt, and having played Geralt for so many hours across the 3 games, it made me. There's a point in the book that the chapters follow Ciri within the world of the NL, with the Wild Hunt world, and she's put in a very sexual situation with the NL king, and I felt really uncomfortable reading those passages in the book because of the father-daughter relationship that I've built to Ciri through the fantastic writing and voice acting of Geralt. So that is just an absolute hat tip to the voice actor and his portrayal there, but also the writing and direction of that character as well. So I think we probably need to call it here, Tom. You look like you're pretty much asleep.
No, I'm wide awake. What are you talking about?
You wide awake? Totally awake. You look it. Yep. All those watching on YouTube can slowly watch you deteriorate into a half sleep.
Oh no, that's just my face. Don't pick on my face. That's rude. That's rude. It's a new camera angle. I can't quite figure it out. Where do I look?
Well, Pete, I know Pete wanted to talk about real-time AI voice acting, but he just misses out on that, I think. So,
what does he actually mean about real-time voice AI acting?
Well, he started to tell me, and he's like, "Oh no, this is a conversation we need to have on the recording." I'm like, "Oh, okay, cool, no worries."
Oh, cool. Well, don't take a business call halfway through our recording. No, I think the biggest thing for me still comes back to, and I think this is the point I will harken home on, is for me in terms of like a voice acting scenario. It is literally about how I voice that character in my head. And I think this is what we talked about in terms of like Skyrim, which I think is a very important point to make. And like when you take something like an RPG, we're going to use Skyrim. We're going to abuse Skyrim right now. And it's unfair on Bethesda, but you know what? That's what you get for signing a license with Xbox, and you can go fuck yourself. But like when you think about Skyrim, like I have poured hours, hundreds of hours into that game. Like I don't know how many hours you've poured into it.
Like hundreds.
My older brother Chris has just started playing that again. Oh look, it's Dick Butt. He's just returned from the land of Dick Butt. Anyway, so yeah, like thinking about Skyrim and the way that like we have poured all these hours into it, but they do a really good job of like, you still feel, no matter how much voice you put into the character, whether it's yourself or like me when I'm playing games, I still talk to my video game characters because I have a lot of problems to deal with. But like, especially with a Skyrim character, it's like you feel like you're internally processing the quest kind of issues that you come up with. I think that's a big thing that a lot of other first-person games don't do well, is that they make it too obvious a quest item to like process a problem in something which should be like an internal dilemma. It makes it like it becomes suddenly like a text box to them, and you're like, oh, that kind of took me out of that whole thing. Sure. But I think that's something that Bethesda have always done really well, is like, even the way you process it, even if it doesn't actually affect your gameplay, it still feels weighted. I think that's a really good thing that you need to produce when you're talking about first-person games, especially. But then you talk about first-person games in that like first or like, is it second, but whenever
there is a second,
third person.
Yeah. But it's that straight onto your character. I think that's a really important thing that you need to make sure that like that carries through. Like from a gameplay perspective, like those weighted decisions, I think they're the rarest thing you get right. I think so many studios get them wrong, but they're the most important things to give, whether or not it's scripted or it's not. It's giving your character a voice. And yeah, I mean, that's the big thing that I think like studios like Bethesda have always gotten right.
I think
whether or not it's a first person or a third person perspective.
Yeah, Skyrim's a very good good choice in all this because no matter who plays it, you go through and I mean Skyrim, Oblivion. I never played anything before Oblivion. James, our
My
friend,
PC tried to play Morrowind and it did not survive.
I played through Morrowind.
but
Played through Arena as well.
From the Oblivion point of view and Skyrim there was your factions that you joined. And I mean, you could have run through all of the factions. You could have gone through the Dark Brotherhood and the Thieves Guild and the Adventurers Guild, Fighters Guild. Adventurers? That might not be right. Adventurers might be something else. But the definitely the Fighters, the Thieves, and
something else
the
for
Dark
Skyrim.
Brotherhood. Yeah. It's just, you could play through those storylines all in one hit if you wanted to, but if you were really diving into the RPG side of it, you're not going to join the Brotherhood and then go and join the Thieves Guild and then go and join the Fighters Guild, or at least I didn't.
No, but that's the weirdest thing is you can, but it's like that's the creative
That's
dissonance.
the choice. That's exactly it. You have the ability to go and do it, but how much you attach to the unvoiced character that you're playing and how much you pour into that character in you're creating a psyche for that character that has no psyche, that has no voice, and how you want to take them on that path. Ultimately, being the Dovahkiin in Skyrim plays out the same for everybody, but how you get to that point in that final battle is pretty much up to you. Yeah.
Peter, you've just joined this conversation. Do you have anything to add to it?
I don't even know where in the conversation you're up to. All I know is I've been sitting here for the last 10 minutes trying to get off a phone call, watching you two guys, and you both look like you're about to fall asleep.
No, it's just my camera angle. I'm so awake. Fuck, I could talk for hours.
Well, I'm thinking I'm going to go and get another beer if we're going to sit here for another 10 minutes or 15 minutes. But
yeah, we'll definitely do that. Go grab another beer. So I presume you're talking about games, good examples of silent characters where you have to kind of invent the context for yourself.
Yeah, yes and no. We kind of talked about how. So I took it in a different road. Oh God, this is going to be so boring for listeners. I took it in a different.
Don't recover the same
road.
ground.
No. What you have to say is going to be interesting for them, but me rehashing it. I took a different perspective of like, I took about voice characters versus silent protagonists, and better, worse, whatever. Like just
you're comparing those two types. Okay,
yeah. See, I took it quite literally.
But I mean, whilst.
But we did a big thing on Joel and Ellie.
Sure.
Yeah.
I get it.
And then we went straight into like the crux of that. But
if you were following missions, so and this is where I don't think there's actually a difference between voiced versus unvoiced in its ability to create this sense of uncomfort if you fundamentally disagree with the actions. So my problem with Ellie is I disagreed with her actions in the context of her personality as portrayed by, the script. They told me who she was. I didn't make that up.
No.
Whereas you fill in all of the contextual gaps with a silent avatar, like in a Fallout or a Skyrim or any first or third person game where, like Doom, all the ones on our list in front of us. Anything where or even like World of Warcraft, your character is not voiced. You get quests. They're voiced.
Well, this was also the thing of like when you take those games that traditionally were silent, but then they try and add a voice to it. Like, is that how well has that worked? How well has that not?
So I mean, that's a almost a different conversation. But what I was going to say is you can easily, even with a third, even with a silent avatar where you're creating the voice for them because your character is not voiced in the story, even if there are no cutscenes, and there are cutscenes in Elder Scrolls, there's cutscenes in Fallout.
There's no cutscenes in Elder Scrolls.
Yeah, there is.
Yes, there is.
Dead
Silence, very good.
Not third person, like shown from still the player point of view.
Yeah.
Yeah, not external.
Cinematic cutscenes do happen in Elder Scrolls, yeah.
Do they? No, they don't. Not in Skyrim. There isn't any. No, it's all. Once you start, it's all from your player point of view through the whole game.
Yes, but they're cutscenes in the sense that
You're
they're
awake.
scripted.
Yeah.
How about that rack and ride?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like the whole fucking opening sequence is a cutscene. It's pre-rendered in the game engine
from the player point of view.
Yes, and everyone's talking to you. But what I was going to say is, you can easily create the same level of cognitive dissonance in one of those silenced Avatar games by just having them do missions that you fundamentally disagree with. So, okay, they might not be consistent with a character that's been established by the narrative, but they might be inconsistent with your own internal sense of morals. Like your quest might be to go and kill all the children for Order 66.
Jedi Temple.
Yeah, exactly. I went exactly there. Right, that might be your mission in a game, and you might fundamentally disagree with having to do that as a mission.
Absolutely.
But Disney doesn't have the balls.
True, not on topic, but true. Point is, you can fuck up in a third person silent character game just as easily as a scripted one.
Yeah, I definitely took this too literally.
It's fine. There's no bad topics, man. That's all discussion. I don't know why anyone put Fallout as bad as a silent, because I didn't have any problem with it.
I put Fallout as bad.
Why?
Because I think going from Fallout,
talk about it.
Cool.
I think Fallout for me had, especially Fallout 4, had quite a bit more disjointedness from what I would choose to do as a non-voiced psyche created character when you're forced to do those community things within Fallout 4. That to me, I guess when we hit post-apocalyptic stuff, being a lover of Mad Max, never get out of that Mad Max. It's all about you, survivor point of view. Like
I don't think I've played Fallout 4. I Platinum 3, I Platinum New Vegas, and then I stopped playing Fallout games because those were big undertakings.
Yeah, so both of those games you just play through on your own.
Yeah.
So you just go through. But in 4, I'm not sure you have to do it or whether you have to do one or two of them. Excuse me.
I know you get a puppy dog.
Well, he's one of the companions. You don't have to have him as a companion. That's 3, I think. You might get one in 4 as well.
No, you definitely do in 4.
Just you get called back to the first little settlement that you find by the marshal there, and it introduces the building aspect of the game to you, and the settlement defense side of things. And it encourages you to build and protect a settlement and community. I'm like, no, fuck you. It's the fucking wasteland. You survive on your own. I have no interest in what you're doing. I'm surviving perfectly fine. I've got enough caps. I've got enough resources. I've got enough bullets. If you've got a problem, that I've got enough fucking rad X shots and food to get me through. If you've got an issue defending your community, that's your problem, not mine.
Yeah.
I think that says more about me than anything else.
But it's exactly what I was saying before you got back. Was it's very easy, even with a silenced character, that you've got to fill in to create that disconnect between what you would do and what the game forces you to do to play it. It's exactly the same as the Ellie situation.
So this is we're double covering ground, and I apologize to people that are listening, but this is the thing that I threw at Tom was that you haven't played Doom, but the Doomslayer, you're scripted, unvoiced first person. You don't have a choice in what gets played out here, but you don't worry about it because it's so well scripted within that character's story.
It's also not really a narrative game. You're not playing it for the story. You're playing it for the fucking action.
Yeah, you definitely are. But then the third person one that I threw at Tom too was Isaac Clarke from the original Dead Space was unvoiced. And he went through, that was definitely a narrative action-based game. And I'm about to play the Dead Space remake where Isaac has a voice. So that's going to be very interesting to see how that plays out.
That's a bit more polarizing.
here's the thing though, between voiced and non-voiced, right? We're still we're still really fundamentally having a conversation between scripting and not scripted. Because if I look at Hogwarts Legacy, you could pick your voice, and you can pick from like 10 different voices, and they have unique characteristics and personalities attached to those voices. Yet fundamentally, it's all pre-scripted as to what you're going to say in any given moment. And your interaction with characters is all pre-written.
All roads lead to Hogsmeade.
Yeah, well, there's that. And so the way that I was interacting with people in that game, I disagreed with. I would never interact that way. And I made that point when we talked about Hogwarts to say, I literally went out into the middle of the scrub and annihilated a whole population of fucking humans. And then on the way home, just for fun, I killed another 50 goblins. I used all of the fucking unforgivable curses, and then went back to high school and sat next to some chick named Nellie. Like, fuck off.
So that is very cognitive dissonance as well.
Exactly. And we were
as a psychopath.
Yeah. And we did cover that. So
and he should be locked up, which is the end result of that. Yes.
Yeah. So I think it's interesting that we get attached to games that I don't know. I guess it's
I guess no.
It's kind of an obvious outcome, really.
I think Hogwarts is actually a really bad example in the sense that not that you picking it is a bad example, but in the sense of the way the game built. Like, it's very poorly written. Like,
it is.
No teenager should be able to go out and murder a whole bunch of people and then just come back to school.
Which was the point you made at the time. We shouldn't have been playing as a teenager. I get it. I agree. But my point is, at the end of the day, we get invested in games for a few different reasons. If that reason happens to be because we're engrossed in the storyline, then it's very easy for those characters to go on a path that we wouldn't personally have gone on, and that's where that disconnection starts.
I think the other thing I was going to bring up, which I'm actually glad you're back for, Pete, was the way sometimes that, like, especially scripted characters are portrayed. And a big one for me was I never agreed with never is a strong term, but like I really didn't agree with Aloy in Forbidden West, and I felt her character was a bit harshly done by, in terms of, like, I didn't think she was fleshed out in the way that she should have been.
I totally agree. I actually thought about her.
And that was one of the biggest dissonance moments that I've had in recent years, in the way that she was meant to be this savior, but she acted like an absolute spoiled brat.
She did.
Yeah.
But here's something interesting for you, because I had a good think about Horizon just before we started, because I've had a weird couple of days this weekend for work reasons. I've been literally in front of my computer for most of the weekend, working and kind of weaving in some podcast stuff. And Horizon came up for a couple of reasons. I had this really weird moment in Horizon VR, the fucking climb the highest mountain, or whatever it's called.
Mountain Climber Simulator.
Yeah, because Aloy walks up to you at the start in one of the cutscenes.
Cliffhanger Simulator?
Yeah.
Grab on!
Well, it's the wrong muscle man.
Same muscle, same actor.
Aloy walks up to you and interacts with you and speaks to you, and you're in VR, and for the first time I'm seeing this character that I've seen on screen so many times, but in front of me, and it's like, fuck, you're shorter than I thought you'd be.
I was just about to say, she seems like a really tall character.
Nah, she's short, man.
General Grievous, you're shorter than I expected.
and then my point was, for me, playing through the Horizon games, there was a disconnect between the cutscenes of the character that I'm supposedly representing versus who I felt I was playing through 99% of the time when I'm in control of the character. Right? So I never connected with Aloy as self. I connected with Aloy as the important female character in the cutscenes, but when I'm not in a cutscene, I'm not really Aloy. I'm me running around doing the shit that I got to do.
Right.
So I had a disconnect there because I never really connected with Aloy. And it really only made sense to me when I saw her in a VR game where she is much more representative because she's in front of me. She looks like a person. She has a height attribute now. Apart from my silly joke, like she has a presence on screen that's like a physicality that's different to just seeing her in a cutscene.
Yeah, right.
And it kind of all brought it together. Oh, that's why she doesn't. I had no connection to her when I saw her in VR, in the sense that I knew who she was, but it was like seeing an old friend. It wasn't like seeing a mirror. That's how it all kind of consolidated for me as to my thoughts on that.
And so you didn't feel disconnected because you were watching a player that you had a connection with as a person within their world.
Correct.
You saw them just as somebody's personality that you knew. Yeah.
They're another NPC. Aloy was an NPC in my story. So I found that quite interesting as well, is that if I disconnected, if I don't feel a connection, but then again, in Horizon, the fun of playing the Horizon game was to do the quests and explore the world. I don't need to step into her shoes to do that. She was a protagonist that drove the story forward, but I didn't need to feel like I was her in order to enjoy the story. I don't know. I mean, it's an open world sandbox game. It wasn't terribly narrative driven in the same sense that The Last of Us is narrative. It's a narrative game.
It's very interesting. Just if we're going to throw out some little fun facts, I'm going to throw one out here right now. So when Anakin says that to General Grievous, it was a throwaway line in Revenge of the Sith. They then spent the entirety of the Clone Wars making sure that Anakin and Grievous never met because of that line. I think that's fascinating.
What do you mean?
I think that's such an attention to detail.
Shorter than I expected.
Yeah.
Was the
Anakin and Grievous, that's the first time that Anakin and Grievous meet in the Star Wars universe. So for the entirety of Clone Wars, they're not allowed to meet, no matter what the scenario.
Right.
Because of this one throwaway line that some random writer threw in where Anakin goes, "You're shorter than I expected." And they went, "No, that is canon. That is canon shit right there. They can never meet up until this point." And I think that's beautiful.
Okay.
That's some dedication to the world.
Yeah. Should we move on? Like, are we done with the spotlight? I don't know what the conclusion here is.
I don't think there is a conclusion.
It's an interesting conversation.
I think it was just a beautiful breakdown from us. Yeah.
I hope you enjoyed listening to us talk bullshit for
babble
35 minutes while Pete wasn't here, and for Pete to come in and bring some sense.
I did not bring any fucking sense. Well, I made a sexist comment and that was it. I just fucking dropped my
Classic.
walk out. Yeah. Everyone was expecting. At least I played a form. The one little note.
Wait a minute. Wait. Oh.
No, go.
Sorry. So a comment on VR and shorter than you expected. Playing Batman VR, the height of the height. Sorry, playing the piano. Yeah, the height that you are from the ground. Like, I'm just under 6'1". The height that the goggles were from the ground within Batman VR was not the 6'4" or whatever Bruce Wayne is meant to be. It was shorter than
6'1"?
No, it was shorter than what I am.
Right.
I felt
shorter than you expected. Yeah.
I felt quite small in Batman VR playing within that world when I was meant to be playing a person bigger than me. So no matter what height the person playing Batman VR, because you're not playing an unnamed character, the goggles should have always been 6'4" from the ground.
Yeah.
And they weren't.
Interesting. So
I wonder if that is a connection thing where it's like not trying to connect you to the world of Batman that is 6.4, but like connecting you to the height of, like, if you walked into a room with a piano, would you be able to be at that height? And
I think most VR games, and so I know for certain that the Horizon game does it. Your height in the game is a representation of where the floor is set in the VR configuration. So if you are 6 foot tall and you're wearing the goggles and you set up the floor where your actual floor is, you'll be 6 foot tall when compared to all the other characters. So they predetermine the height of the in-game characters, but not you.
I guarantee the Batman VR doesn't do that.
I guarantee. I would agree with you.
Very early.
Yeah,
It was a tech demo. It was a tech demo.
It was a tech demo.
I just wanted to make one last point before we get into Are You Winning, Son? And just while we're talking about scripting, we're at a point now. If you consider that James L. Jones lent his voice to something
Vader.
recently. We talked about it. It was the Obi-Wan series.
Vader and Obi-Wan. Yeah.
Yep. But it wasn't actually James L. Jones, the actor. It was artificial intelligence.
No, it wasn't that he retired from Vader after that series.
No, we talked about it. He was credited as lending his voice to Vader, but the software that synthetically delivered his lines was also credited. Yeah. So basically, they built up a database. It's like deep fake for voices. They did the same thing with Luke, because whilst they got Mark Hamill back in for Luke in the end of Mando season 2 to do the voice acting, they didn't actually use his voice. He spoke his lines,
of course, because he's a grizzled veteran now. Yeah,
but they used his intonation in live capture to feed into the AI algorithm to de-age him, essentially. So we are not far away from, those games where they would have said your name at the end of the sentence. The NPC in a quest would have said, "Hello, Peter, thanks for joining us." But because they allow you to have a custom name, they just say, "Hello, thanks for joining us." We'll be at a point very soon where they'll be able to do real-time AI voicing rather than pre-recording voice. Good. And that opens up a whole
Welcome, Gondorian Jedi. I welcome you to this world. Oh, that's Dissonance right there.
Just when the VR Lord of the Rings and Tom gets to get a welcome from Gandalf, that's the last we're going to get to see.
Yeah. He was talking about me jerking off. I think that'll be that'll be it for you, Tom. But I think that opens up an interesting.
Yeah, it's just a simple thing of connecting the hose. Like,
I think it'll be an interesting development. I don't think we're very far off.
Trimming the verge, don't you think, Samwise? Speak.
I don't think we're far off from having in-game AI doing real-time voice.
How good?
Development, because they've got the tech now. Like we're already doing it.
I still think the greatest thing you could do was when you played a Pokemon game and you put your name in as like Dick Fuck, and then they just had to call you Dick Fuck. Like, hey, Dick Fuck, your Pikachu's evolving. And you're like, oh, I'm gonna call this Fuckface. It's just like that shit. Like it was just dumb, but like that was like the level of like character creation you had. And now it's gonna be like, hello, Dick Fuck. We have to go and save the world with your Pokemon Fuckface. And I'm like, Oh, I think I've ruined this game. Dear. Oh, no.
Should we move into Are You Winning, Son? I'm going to go grab another drink. So do you guys want to kick off?
Oh, Thomas, are you winning, son?
I'm always winning, son, because I'm a fucking champion. So, yeah, obviously, I'm not allowed to talk about the cry of far anymore because I've done that too much. But the Taskmaster is gone. So now I've been playing Forspoken, which is a game we talked about a long time ago on the podcast. It's from Luminous Studios, which is a runoff of Square Enix, who are the big developers behind Final Fantasy. It's a fun game. It just really suffers from and Pete. Oh, you could probably sympathize with this as well. Ed can definitely sympathize with this. It's such an open world and you run around it for so long. They only have a set amount of like queued character moments.
Mm-hmm.
So the amount of times I've been told like, that's an interesting thing. And I'm like, well, fuck you. Like it's that kind of thing. It's just like, it's not that the character actors are bad. It's just they have such a limited scope of lines to say that they just become super repetitive, and that's the thing that's really frustrating me. So I'm only like probably a fifth, maybe a quarter of the way through the game.
Which Far Cry are we talking about?
We're talking about your mum's no.
My mum's lovely.
Your mum is lovely, but she's not a video game. That's why we're not talking about her. No, I'm talking about Forspoken.
Okay.
And I was talking about how it's just it's such a repetitive voice acting thing, which I think that's where all the complaints came through that we've seen online.
Oh, and it was also apparently it was clumsily scripted. That was the other complaint.
Oh yeah, it's horribly scripted. No, but it's even worse in the fact that like, Pete, you get this. You think about Hogwarts, about the amount of times you went to the quick save or quick thing, and you told, "This is all roads lead to Hogsmeade."
Yeah.
I was running through an area the other night, which is probably about, let's say, roughly like 200 meters squared that I was running through, collecting things, like defeating some enemies to upgrade my like. There was a little like spot of like very easily defeated characters that I could just like zombies that I could just fucking headshot and just like I upgraded my skills.
Yep.
It's a perfect like
farming.
It was
area.
farming ground. It was farming ground. I was like, cool. I found this. I can do this here. Like, I've got to upgrade over 200 skills for this game. I was like, yeah, sweet. I'm going to do it right here because this is super quick, and I can do like 40 skills in 20 minutes. Like, it's perfect. But then in that thing, just listening to the way that your non-human character, like
companion
thing that you have, said the same fucking lines, and you responded to them 80 times in that like 20 minutes. I was just like, Jesus fucking Christ.
Can you turn it off?
No, that's the worst thing. You can turn down the voice.
Do these fucking game developers play video games? Seriously. It seems like such an obvious miss.
Like, I can turn it down. I can turn it down to just the voice volume, but then when it gets to a significant scenario, I'm like, oh fuck, I can't hear the shit they're saying. But I have subtitles on, so I was like, oh, you know what? I could probably just let it. Yeah, that's fine. I'll rather turn them down and read subtitles than listen to these repetitive and for no reason. The one that really gets me in this game is the female character saying, how far do we have to go? And then the dude goes, not long to go now. And it's just like, it's the, are we there yet? It's that. It's that scenario. Yeah. That's the thing that wants me to take the CD out of the console, snap it,
Frisbee
and
across
fling
the
it.
streets.
Like, no, fling it in opposite directions. Like, yeah.
Not good.
Otherwise, it's a very enjoyable game, except for that very, very annoying
So the game
part
mechanics are good?
They are good, but could be better. They're very spongy, which is what I was talking about with Ed. It's very spongy.
Storyline interesting?
Storyline's interesting. It's cool, like in terms of the
it's grounded in reality because it's she slips through from our dimension.
No, the disassociation is actually the more interesting thing. Like, and like how she's infiltrated the new world that you are stuck in, and like the way that the characters respond to her. It's just the NPCs. They try to make them feel more important than they actually are. Like, they don't affect shit. Like, you could ignore every one of their quests and nothing would change.
Well, it's the same with Legacy, like Hogwarts Legacy. You can literally. There are so many dialogue choices in that game, and only one of them, one decision out of perhaps 500,
700,
has any bearing at all on anything ever. You can be an absolute arsehole to everyone all the time, or you can be pretty as pie to everyone all the time, and not a damn thing changes.
Nah. And this one's just, it's just like, it's a fun game. Like the parkour element's cool. The way that the graphics are beautiful. That there's no denying that. And the way that the
that's not fucking hard. Have you seen the latest Cyberpunk updates with the fucking full-time ray tracing?
No, sorry, when I talk about the graphics, I'm talking about the way that the the
imagination of the world.
No, the gameplay, like the firing element intertwines with the world. I think that's really cool.
Okay.
It's a really unique. Unique is probably not the best way. It's a really cool art style. That's probably the best way to describe it. But yeah, it's interesting. But having dealt with the character elements, I'm now literally just being like, cool. It's this week is Jedi Survivor. Can you just hurry? Like, I don't know if I'll finish it. Like, I just want to play Jedi Survivor now. Like, it's literally, it's just been a filler to get to there. And like, initially I was like, this is a really cool game, but there's been so many
You got
elements
over it
where I'm
really
like,
quickly. But
I got
everyone
over it
did.
really
I mean,
quickly.
it's getting smashed by critics. 6 out of 10. IGN, Steam.
It's
64%
all but
Metacritic.
disappeared.
Yeah.
It's all but disappeared.
Yeah, and it's a real
it was meant
shame
to
because
be-
it is a beautiful game, and the
It was
way
a AAA title.
Yeah, and the way
It
it's
was
been
meant-
presented is beautiful, and the way the gameplay, like the parkour element, and like the way that the character moves and the character models move, and it is beautiful the way it does that. But it's just like, I just want to
Back in the
lightsabers, to be honest.
What were you going to say,
Yeah.
Dan?
It was meant to be, God, what's her name? Hennig. Amy Hennig.
from Uncharted. Yeah,
Yeah, it was meant to be her next big win.
Right.
And
but she got taken off it quite
oh,
early.
Oh, did she?
Yeah,
Oh, okay. I didn't know she didn't see it through to the end.
I don't think she did.
Okay.
I wouldn't think she did, based on
You would hope she didn't.
yeah. Let's say that. I can't prove that, but I would hope she's not involved in this anymore based on the
Yeah.
way this story goes. Yeah.
Yeah, because it was meant to be her next big thing, and that was kind of the thing that played it early. And I mean, I guess maybe
The thing for
Amy
me
Hennig.
that it was a new studio from Square Enix, and like Square Enix is obviously the big Final Fantasy studio. That's what took me in, and it's so Final Fantasy. It's so Final Fantasy, even down to the way that the hair plays in graphics. It's got that Final Fantasy Square Enix kind of flavor to it. And that's the thing I want to talk to Ed about, of being like, if you played it, do you see those things the way I see them? Because I looked at it and I go, oh yeah, that's a Final Fantasy game. Yep, sweet. Like that. It's just this weird like flavor characteristic in the way the hair flows. It's like, it's the smallest fucking thing, but it speaks volumes about the studio.
Yeah.
It's like it's almost like a signature, like kind of thing. Yeah.
But Square
which
Enix-
is cool.
Square Enix also does Deus Ex as well, which is quite different. So, which
Oh,
they
they've got
need to
lots of
bring
sub
back.
studios.
Oh,
though,
yeah,
Square
they
Enix.
do. Yeah.
But this Athia Studios was their next sub studio, like their big PS5 studio. So yeah,
Interesting.
Fail.
Interesting.
Peter, are you winning, son?
Me? No. We'll do Dan, because I'll be really quick. Do Dan. Dan's
And what
played.
do you think? What do you think? I won't be quick.
Correct.
One of you fucks go.
Okay. Well, this is the last time I'm going to talk about the Geralt of Rivia. It's probably
not. You
No,
liar.
it's not. It's not.
It's like me saying I'm never going to talk about Doctor Who again.
No, well, I mean, I'm just what
See the
I've
screenshots?
got in this Are You Winning, Son is that I've just finished the Blood and Wine expansion again, for different results this time, which was interesting. But I did also just reinstall The Witcher 2 and install a whole bunch of mods on my PC. So that is where I'm going to next. But Blood and Wine, I had a absolutely beautiful, amazing time running around the world of Tucson in the Witcher 3 Enhanced Edition. It was whimsical and fantastic and frustrating and absolutely immersive, and I'm glad I went straight there from the Northern Realms, because it's as it was the first time when it got released. It was a beautiful difference to the main core game.
It was a stark difference too.
A stark difference visually, and the reason this is not really a spoiler, Pete, but the reason you end up in Tucson is just a Witcher contract. The whole 30
I've got
hour
the contract. I'm pretty sure I've picked up the quest to get me there.
Yeah, but you don't know the details of the contract.
Yes.
But the whole 30-hour gameplay in this area, 30, 40-hour gameplay, if you want to do the lot and enjoy the whole lot, is just a Witcher contract. The main story is just a good old monster hunt.
Two-parter, but which contract? Yeah.
It's just a Witcher
I
contract.
need to finish it.
It's
It's the
fantastic.
only thing that I haven't done in Witcher 3.
And do it in the Enhanced Edition, because you get the
I will.
Grand Master armor, and you get access to the Manticore Grand Master armor.
Gives me an excuse to get back into that world.
It's just amazing. It's beautiful. It's well written. I
hope it ports save games, because it'll be on the cloud from PlayStation 4, because that would have been the last time I played Witcher 3.
It does. Yeah, it does.
Cool.
It definitely does.
Because I had all the bestest.
I did get a notification. I did re-download, because I was like, oh, do I play Forspoken or do I go back and play Fallen Order again, and then I downloaded Fallen Order, and the first thing it said was like, "We've already got your save game," and I was like, "Okay, no, now I'm bored. No, I don't want that. No, I want to restart that from the beginning."
Yeah.
So I went that, and now I'm done with that. I wrote on the sheet last time I talked about The Witcher 3, I swear. Yeah, probably.
Dan and I actually had a
time
message
to say.
conversation about the ending of that expansion this morning. And
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to now dive into the Dead Space remake.
I've never played
nice.
it, and I
About
will.
time.
do
We've
the
been waiting
same.
for you to do that.
Yeah, I'm going to do it. I love Dead Space, always have. I'm really looking forward to doing it. It just was an unfortunate time that I had to dump another 250 hours into The Witcher 3. But now it's time
Unfortunate.
now it's time to revisit Dead Space, because as much as I want to play Jedi Survivor, fuck you, Disney, I'm taking a step back for a little while.
Okay.
Pete, are you winning something?
Yeah. I platinumed The Last of Us 2. It was one of those. I got to the end of the game, and you have to start a new game plus and play through about 60% of the game to get the platinum. Second time round. And I started, and I got halfway through Ellie's part of the game, and I'm like, "Oh, fucking serious? This is just dragging on and on. I got to go through all the flashback cut scenes to when, I was hunting with Tommy and Joel, and they're like, fucking really? It's all boring shit." But actually, by the time I finished it and I finally got the last bits that I needed on what's her name? Fucking
Abby.
Thank you. Brain has shut down. It's the gin and tonic I'm drinking now. I missed it. Like I shut it down. I finished it. I'm like, and I was powering through. So I did what I did for the last game. Where I had to play through a good deal of the game a second time back to back. I downloaded a speedrun video. I found a good speedrun video, and a glitch-free speedrun, because a lot of speedruns are on PC where they can set up certain glitches. You have to find a glitch-free version if you're going to follow it on a PlayStation, because you can't glitch on PlayStation. I followed his instructions, and instead of taking me, I think it took me 35 hours to play the game the first time round, it took me less than 6 to get 60% of the way through the second time round. So, yeah, it was a lot more efficient. When instead of stalking every motherfucker in the game, which is what I did the first playthrough, I killed everybody. Everybody that was presented as an enemy died.
Oh. Okay. Oh, dear.
Hiding in the fucking grass, choking everybody. Second time, I skipped entire areas that I'm like, that whole zone just took me 10 seconds. The first playthrough took me 3 fucking hours.
Yeah,
it was great running through going, bye. It was quite liberating. So I'm not sure what I'm going to play next. There are so many cult classics that I need to go back and finish or start and finish. Dead Space is on that list. I've never played a BioShock game since the original. So that's a cult classic. I've never played Heavy Rain.
Oh, don't bother.
That's an old school cult classic.
Heavy Rain's not bad.
Jason!
And once you get over that, that's in the first
get over that.
30
you
minutes.
Cannot get over that. Yeah.
And yet I do need to finish RDR 2. So I've gotten all of the on.
God,
I've gotten on. It's not that bad.
We'll see you in 1,000 hours.
You guys all say that it's not that bad. I've gotten all the online trophies. I'm halfway through the storyline, and I've got all the trophies leading up.
Fix the story at least.
No,
it's not
Pete,
that hard.
If it's not that hard, if you just want to platinum and speed run that shit, I'm sure that you can do all that. If you want to just trot through the prairie and enjoy your time in the Wild West,
that's exactly what I'll do.
Train.
That's exactly what I'll do. I will do it. I'm not going to speed run it, but what I'm saying is, if you wanted to go and go and hunt all of the animals and dart them and study them and then skin them, that's not that big fucking deal. I've done it already for the online. You have to do it again in the main campaign. It's not that big a deal.
See, this is where I don't agree with you two and your trophy hunting.
Why? There was a trophy in the first game.
You
the
just
first
gotta
RDR
know when to hold them and then know when to fold them.
I'm pretty sure that the name of the trophy was actually Extinction, and you had to extinguished the last water buffalo in the game in the original RDR. So if you disagree with the idea of skinning everything, well,
No, it's not the skinning. It's the fact that you aren't going into the world just to spend the time and enjoy the world rather than looking at a list of checkoffs.
but I do actually go and enjoy it. And whilst I understand what you're saying, I find enjoyment in I'm stalking animals in a forest. If I know that an animal that I need is in
I
this
just walk around
forest,
and have a good time. I don't stalk animals because I'm not a creep.
I'll spend 4 or 5 hours hunting in that forest, and I'll kill a bunch of shit I don't have to kill because it's, you're there to hunt. You collect meat and you collect pelts, and you do runs. I find that enjoyable as well.
I find it very enjoyable, but I mean, because I played it to start with, there was no instruction on, like, you would look at a perfect pelt animal through your scope and take a shot and kill it, and then by the time you get to it,
It might be half. Yeah,
it
2
might be
stars instead of
2
3.
stars. And it's like,
Yeah.
why the fuck did that happen? You got to work out that there was the weapon that you had to shoot it with.
But I'm not reading. Well, I don't know what makes you think I'm sitting here reading a fucking game guide, because I'm not.
It's because all of the shit you say, like all of the shit.
You did just say you followed a game guide to do these things.
A speed run
know,
guide after I finished the game, yeah.
And I know
That's
what
different.
I've got to do when I get into the single player. Like, you just literally just said that.
Yeah, but you've only got to look at the list of I always look at the trophy list.
You see, so
I know what's involved.
I don't care, so I don't look at the trophy list, so I don't know what's involved.
Sure.
Well, I am the superhuman in this conversation, in the fact that I have done Dune 2016 on the PS4, and I've done the UAC mode, and I've completed that. So you know what? You'll lick my fucking boots.
All right, I think that's it. Are we done?
That's it. Yeah,
I think
I've got to
we're
go to
done.
bed.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you. If you got this far, thank you for listening.
Yeah, thank you for putting
you
up
got this
with Dan and I just fucking rambling for like the last hour.
I'm sorry about that. I felt bad. I couldn't wait to get off that call either. It was just anyway. Thanks for listening, and thanks for making us number 7th. We just got that stat pack. We're number 7th.
Also,
pop
thank
culture.
you for enjoying my new background. How
The
exciting!
background's awesome, but number 7th in the country for pop culture podcasts.
I have a
is pretty
Witcher
amazing.
thing on my microphone. Fuck you.
7th doesn't matter.
All right.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye bye.